Pokémon. The trainer begins as a bounty hunter. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101 Clear. 2 ground-based skills with outstanding effects, coupled with the large character blast attack of Flame Chicken, which has no restraint, but far surpasses the same level in energy quality, caused serious damage to Nidoking and Nidoqueen. At the same time, their bodies were unable to move. However, the abilities of the two were very balanced, and they still did not lose their combat ability under this round of attacks. Iron Tail. Continuous control of Mantle Rock. Continuous jet of flames. The last round of attacks had just ended, and he sees the time when the stalemate of his 3 Pokémons had ended. After using their skills, and continuous commands quickly came out of Tetsua's mouth. The steel tail of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, which emitted white light, swept across the stomachs of Nidoking and Nidoqueen, and Flame Chicken's jet of flames followed closely. Under the continuous erosion of the sand under their feet and the scorching of the high temperature flames, Nidoking and Nidoqueen were completely unable to resist, and could only scream continuously, and then their bodies covered with charred black, and covered with sand and dust fell directly, losing their combat ability. Throwing out 2 Pokeballs, they were captured without much trouble. At this time, only a minute had passed since the battle began. The Pokémons in the cave, who heard their boss's call, had just run out and saw their boss being put into the Pokéball. The Pokémons made completely different choices. Zubat rushed up without thinking, but was hit on the stone wall by the Tyrannosaurus Rex in the front, and lost his ability to fight. Perest fled the scene quickly with his 2 younger brothers, and ZHE didn't care. After all, although their materials are worth a lot of money, it is still very troublesome to collect them. Just 1 or 2 of them are useless. His focus now is not on them. Pick up the 2 Pokeballs and shrink them. Turn on the automatic locking function to prevent the 2 Pokémons from running out. Yes, Pokémon can enter and exit the Pokéball freely if the trainer who captured it does not lock its Pokéball. The original Pokéballs are not allowed. They are all locked equally. This is a new function added in recent years. By default, captured Pokémon can enter and exit freely unless they are locked by the trainer. It can be said that this function change has saved many lives in critical moments. Of course, the price paid is also painful, and no one is willing to face it. As for Nidoking and Nidoqueen, 2 Pokémon that will never become a member of his team, ZHE will naturally not let them enter and exit freely, and they may hurt themselves if they run out. The only thing to be thankful for is that these 2 are more or less worth a price in the black market. However, in the past 2 months, ZHE felt that he went to the black market too many times and needed to slow down. Sure enough, it is more appropriate to use it to exchange resources within a gym, he thought. There is no way the income obtained from trading Pokémon on the black market is of unknown origin. It is okay now, but if the number or amount increases, he may be in trouble. This is what Xiaogang revealed to him many times, intentionally or unintentionally. He naturally understands this truth. The black market seems to be a no man's land, but in fact, the Alliance holds it tightly in its own hands. If you were to sell green caterpillars or something, it would be fine. After all, no one would necessarily buy them. But people like him who frequently trade powerful Pokémon for large amounts of wealth would sooner or later be targeted. Exchanging resources with gym sounds good, but in fact it is similar to buying and selling Pokémon. It is just taking advantage of loopholes, and the Alliance has a tacit attitude towards this. In name only, he is still a Pokémon trainer. In fact, he only knows roughly where Pokémon are, which is completely different from the way he handles Tyrannosaurus. Moreover, the gym's requirements for exchanged Pokémon or resources are much higher than those of the black market, and they will not accept any that are inferior. However, there is a way to deal with this. ZHE also looked at the dark cave in front of him to see what was inside. He commanded Tyrannosaurus to go in and explore the way first. It walked in with a swagger. This was not the first time it had entered this place. When the 2 Nidokings and Nidoqueens were not strong before, it could beat 2 Pokémon with 1 Pokémon. It can be said that it has entered the nest several times. Zay took out the night vision goggles from his bag without changing his expression. As for the question about letting Flame Chicken light up, he said that it was just a daily greeting for Flame Chicken. He was a man with a photographic memory. How could he forget that he had brought the night vision goggles? In fact, he did forget. Photographic memory does not mean that everything in the mind is remembered clearly, but it is especially clear when recalling. This is a big difference. Following the Tyrannosaurus Rex into the cave, the sight was bright. ZHE took off the night vision goggles in a bad mood. No, these two elves are poisonous, right? Oh, yes, they are indeed poisonous. No, what he wanted to complain about was that the two of them had to make the outside of their nest pitch black, so that nothing could be seen clearly, but the nest was full of fluorescent grass and fluorescent stones. The eyes behind the night vision goggles were almost blinded by the light. Sighing, it was really difficult to understand the thinking logic of the elves. They began to search with the light, and the three elves scattered around to guard for him. As a bodyguard, Flamel stayed with him all the time, while Mantle Rock and Tyrannosaurus each occupied a cave entrance to prevent any Pokémon from entering. However, as the boss of this area, Nidoking and his friends still have some respect, but they are just being prudent. Wearing a gas mask and disposable gloves, they began to rummage around in every corner of the cave. Well, not bad. The first income, hard rock, he nodded with satisfaction. This is the favorite of most rock-type Pokémons. It is a special type of rock formed naturally, which can effectively replenish energy and improve strength. For Mantle Rock, this is also the most abundant special rock in its diet. After a rough estimate, the rock in his hand is enough for Mantle Rock's 2-day meal, which is not bad. After all, Nidoking and his friends don't eat rocks, and they probably collect them to occasionally reward their subordinates. Throw the stone into the space backpack. Fortunately, the space he prepared is large enough. Zay continued to search. In such a large cave, even if there is no moonstone, he estimated that he could make a little money this time. He searched inch by inch, as if he wanted to turn the whole cave upside down. Ahaha, found it. It was indeed this thing. ZHE was very satisfied. His knowledge was not learned casually. It contained the summary of human beings' understanding of wild elves and common sense. He tore off a small piece of green glowing moss from a piece of fluorescent grass, and a look of joy appeared on his face. Sure enough, the layout of this cave was a bit strange, because of this thing. Please invest, collect, and recommend. I want anything. Thanks to Xiaoyu for the 100 starting coins. Thanks to Kanifeng for the 100 starting coins. Thanks to Killakil for the 1500 starting coins. Chapter 102 Clear. This is light moss, which often grows deep in the seabed and in caves. When it was discovered, the surrounding environment was basically full of fluorescent grass and fluorescent stones, which was very conspicuous. Its function is to increase the resistance of Pokémon to water skills, if taken for a long time. Although it is very limited, it is still very useful for Pokémon such as rock, ground, and fire. At present, most of the light moss comes from natural production in the wild, and trainers basically choose to use it themselves instead of selling it after getting it. In addition, it is currently known that only one institution under the name of Oak Research Institute can carry out artificial cultivation. Therefore, the market price remains high. ZHE also swept around and filled a bag with the light moss he collected. He felt the weight slightly. The way Mantle Rock improves water resistance is not this, so now only Blaziken needs to use it. This is barely enough for 2 months, which can be regarded as saving a lot of Alliance coins. However, the long-term use of light moss does not refer to 2 or 3 months, but is counted in years. Fortunately, the amount taken is not too large, otherwise it will be a big gold swallower. Continuing to throw it into the backpack, ZHE also began to search the place he just found again without giving up. What about clay? Normally, shouldn't clay be associated with it? He muttered to himself. What Zaire is looking for now is light clay, a companion product of light moss, or the two should be mutually associated. Its function is to quickly improve the elves' mastery of light walls and reflective walls. Generally speaking, there must be light clay near light moss, of course. If you are unlucky, there may not be any. Finally, in a small corner, Zaire found a small piece of light clay. Fortunately, his luck was not too bad. His face was happy. Although this piece of light clay is only half the size of a palm, the purchase price of the Oak Research Institute is very high. Because it is a companion product, the amount of light clay also affects the yield of light moss to a certain extent. Artificial cultivation requires it. Carefully put the light clay into a box, covered the lid, and put it in the backpack. He was extremely satisfied. These just are worth millions, not to mention the next things. With a flash of heat in his eyes, Zaya walked towards an open space where Nidoking and Nidoqueen lived. There was a rest area made of several rocks. He walked closer and took a closer look. 2 moonstones were lying next to them. It was a great fortune, he shouted silently in his heart. The application range of moonstone is very wide. Currently, there are 6 Pokémons that needed to evolve, including the powerful Nidoking and Nidoqueen, the psychic type Eclipse, the cute Pixie, Puppets, and Elegant Cat. The first 3 are powerful Pokémons that are popular among trainers, and the last 3 are the types that are loved by coordinators and noble ladies. Most of the Pokémons that evolve using evolution stones do not have level requirements, so even if the energy of moonstones cannot be used to absorb and strengthen, the price is still stable at a very high level. Picking up the moonstone, Zaya began a simple test himself, while calling out 0 to check their energy concentration. The quality of 76 and 77 was considered average, and he was not disappointed. After all, it was impossible to encounter evolution stones of the same high quality as a firestone every time. Moreover, when Nidoking and Nidoqueen used the moonstones they obtained to evolve, they would subconsciously choose the 2 with higher energy concentrations. At that time, these 2 guys actually got 5 moonstones, which would be billionaires among humans. Tetsuya said that they were lucky, but he was just luckier. He put the 2 moonstones into his backpack with a smile on his face, and looked around to see if there was anything missing. Very good. No. There were no Pokémon eggs of Nidoking and Nidoqueen's offspring in the nest, which was very normal. It was still the result of the research of the Oak Research Institute that Nidoqueen and the degenerate Niduna resolutely gave up their reproductive ability and gained the ability to attack in order to protect their children, so they could not lay eggs. This means that if Nidoqueen wants to give birth to offspring, she must do it when she is still Nidoran. This is also the reason why Nidoran and Nidoran are often seen together in the wild. Fortunately, even after Nidolang evolved into Nidorino, its size was not that big. If it was Nidoking, it would be a bit eye-catching. This is why ZHE was somewhat surprised when he saw Nidoking and Nidoqueen being happy last time. Of course, this is their freedom, and he can't control it. However, Nidoqueen has hard scales like thorns on its body, and its hands will stand up when it is excited. ZHE can hardly imagine this process anyway. He walked out of the cave with 3 Pokémon. The benefits this time were quite good, mainly the moonstone. With the moonstone, many problems can be solved. In the Nibijim, Zyadagang looked at Zaya and was very surprised. Aren't you at the Pokémon Research School? Why did you come back suddenly? I have classes in the morning or afternoon, and I'm free at other times. Zaya replied casually. I went to Tsukimiyama this time, and the harvest was pretty good. The joy in his tone was almost overflowing. Oh. Zyadagang raised his eyebrows slightly. Zay took out 3 Pokeballs from his waist, pointed at 2 of them and said, these 2 are Nidoking and Nidoqueen, with elite level strength. Their potential may be reaching its limit, because they were forced to evolve with moonstones too early. Please help me solve it. And this is Giant Tyrannosaurus. I will test its potential later. If there is no problem, I will deposit it at the gym as my second team Pokémon. Of course, he couldn't say that he knew the potential of these 3. Zyadagang nodded slightly. Okay, these 3 are quite useful, but you can just tell the logistics department about this matter. You don't need to tell me. Of course, he understood what the so-called solution and deposit meant, but there was no need to ask him, the young gym leader, for such a matter. Of course not. Zay looked at Zyadagang with disdain. Do you think your requirements for a good harvest are so low? He took out 2 moonstones from his backpack. This is the bulk of this harvest. Moonstones, but why only 2? Zyadagang's words were full of contempt for Zay's luck. Without slowing down his movements, he quickly took the 2 moonstones from Tetsuya's hands. Even for a big company like Nabijim, which is located next to Mount Tsukumi, moonstones are not something that can be easily obtained. After all, as a product of meteorites landing, its quantity is still quite rare. You know, above the atmosphere, some small meteorites can't escape the attack of Rayquaza, and they are broken into pieces before they land. What are you going to do with these 2 moonstones? Ziogang asked Tetsuya. Please invest, collect, and recommend. I want everything. Thank you for the 100 starting coins from Cosmic Roaring Tiger. Thank you for the 500 starting coins from Lonely Destroying Life. Thank you for the 100 starting coins from Red Moon Jixin. Thank you for the 100 starting coins from Secret Love Next Century. Chapter 103 Craniofauna. Not sure yet. ZHE didn't care about the moonstone that Ziogang took away and walked to the side to pick up a glass of water and drank it. Anyway, Ziogang couldn't steal his things. Not sure. Ziogang was very surprised. Then why did you give it to me? I'll keep it with you for now. ZHE also sat down, speaking naturally. Ziogang had a few black lines on his head. I'm not your warehouse. What's the matter with throwing things to me every day? Having said that, he walked to the side, opened his small warehouse, and threw the 2 moonstones in. ZHE also took a look, and there were all some rare items in it except for his leaf stone. Ziogang closed the door of the small warehouse vigilantly. Don't think about me. ZHE also shook his head, without answering, and drank the water in his hand. Okay, I'm leaving. The elf is thrown on the table, and I've already told the Tyrannosaurus Rex in advance. I have no objection, and I'll leave it to you next. Without waiting for Ziogang to react, ZHE walked out the door. He was helpless. He picked up 3 Pokeballs and walked towards the testing room, muttering, "Why do you always make me feel like a babysitter?" It was ZHE who didn't hear it. If he had heard it, he would definitely complain. Judging from the way he looked in the animation, he was indeed Zioz's babysitter. ZHE was also on his way back to the Pokémon Research School. Oak Research Institute. A researcher in white knocked on the door and said, "Drive Yamanashi, there is a package for you." Aoki, okay, you can put it on the table. Dr. Yamanashi looked at the data on the computer in front of him without turning his head. The researcher named Aoki looked at the messy table helplessly. There were only cup noodles, lollipop sticks and various sweet packaging on it, which looked particularly messy. He cleared a space helplessly, put the package on it, and then left. As for cleaning up, don't be ridiculous. His own and his colleagues' offices are in the same state. Who cares about these things when doing research? Anyway, there will be someone to clean it up regularly, so there is no need to worry about it. Dr. Yamanashi didn't notice the researcher's departure at all, and was still busy. Squeak. The door opened. Senior, have you got the data? Dr. Yamanashi turned a deaf ear. The owner of the voice also naturally picked up the cup noodles next to him, and made 2 cups. He hadn't eaten dinner yet, so it was a good time to take a break. After a while, when he had already started eating the cup noodles, Dr. Yamanashi finished his work. Turning around, Dr. Yamanashi was stunned. "It's Oak. When did you come?" "I just came. It's just right. I made you a bowl. You come and eat too." Dr. Oak replied vaguely. "Okay." Dr. Yamanashi sat down, picked up the cup noodles and started eating. The data has been calculated, but if you want to improve it, you still need the help of doctors in other regions. I talked to Adamaki last time. What do you think of Zenghu's project? It is indeed good in terms of feasibility, and it will help promote the popularity of elves. The only few questions are, the 2 ate noodles and kept communicating. Dr. Oak put down the bowl, saw the express delivery on the side, and asked casually, "Who sent this?" "What?" Dr. Yamanashi looked up and saw the package. He was stunned for a moment. "Oh, it was just brought by Anghu. I don't know who sent it. Let me see." He took the package and saw that the sender was written as Tetsuya Tamaki. Dr. Yamanashi smiled and said, "It's the Tetsuya I mentioned to you last time, the one who went to school to substitute for a class." He turned on his watch and found that the message was indeed ignored by him. He opened the package and found a ball of green clay and a huge rock with a vague dragon-like skeleton shape on it. Light clay. It just so happens that the Light Moss Research Institute reported that the light clay is not enough again. I forgot about it. Dr. Oak saw the clay, slapped his head, and suddenly remembered it. He quickly sent a message to the Alliance personnel in charge of the acquisition to ask him to increase the acquisition efforts. Well, the key is this fossil. Dr. Yamanashi looked at the information and said, "This is what the little guy found in Mount Tsukumi, but it is a fossil of a craniosaur. This is a big discovery." Craniosaur? Aren't fossils of this kind of Pokémon only found in Synopsis? Dr. Oak was very surprised. Yes, the 3 complete fossils of Craniosaur unearthed before were all found in the Sinnoh region. This is the first complete fossil of Craniosaur to appear in Kanto. This can further improve the hypothesis about the ecology and geology of ancient Pokémons. This is great. Both doctors were very excited. Every time there was such a new discovery, they would feel extremely interesting. Now the little guy hasn't replied to me yet. I guess he has something to do. I will ask him about the specific situation later in the evening. Dr. Yamanashi tried to call Tetsuya's watch, but it showed that the other party was busy, so he said to Dr. Oak, "Speaking of which, you have been helping me with research for decades." Dr. Oak nodded and suddenly sighed. Young people nowadays are really good, much more energetic than we were back then. Dr. Yamanashi laughed. "We are both in our early 50s, not old or 80. What I mean is senior. Don't you want to go back to Sinnoh to continue your research? The Kanto Alliance cannot fully support the research you want to do. You can only go back to Sinnoh." Dr. Oak looked at his best friend and persuaded him very sincerely. His senior's talent was not inferior to his own, and he was completely delayed by some reasons. "Let's talk about it later. Let's talk about it later." Dr. Yamanashi, like in the past, could not make up his mind. Tetsuya on this side was completely unaware of what happened to Dr. Yamanashi in the Oak Research Institute after receiving his package. At this moment, he was still lying on the back of Pidgeot and flying towards the school dormitory. There was no way. He really didn't dare to stand up. Until now, he still didn't understand how Watari managed to stand on the back of Dragonite and fly around. He would have to lie down, and his legs would be weak for a while every time he got down. As for his watch, he had turned it to silent mode after entering the cave in the afternoon. After all, if a sound suddenly sounded in the wild, it would be a disaster. Until now, he has not turned it back, so naturally he did not notice Dr. Yamanashi's call. Soon, at the speed of Pidgeot, ZHE returned from Nibi City to the door of the school dormitory. When entering the school, he saw several alert flying elves observing them, and after confirming that they were their own people, they did not intercept them. Landing on the ground, ZHE felt that the feeling of being down to earth could not be better. He adjusted his state and went straight to the school cafeteria without entering the door. He was almost starving and had to train in the evening. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for the monthly ticket. I ask for everything! Exclamation mark. Thanks to Bashabayan for the reward of 100 starting coins. Chapter 104 Profits. After enjoying a delicious dinner in the cafeteria, ZHE also went to the school's training ground to adapt a little. The facilities inside are quite complete, and some of the equipment is even newer than the Nibi gym, with better effects. After just a little exercise, he returned to the room with his 3 Pokémon. After all, since he knew that he could also use the morning for training, he was not in a hurry. According to the school's time, the first class would start at 9 AM, so there was plenty of time for morning exercise before going to class. Afternoon classes were easier than morning classes. There was no need to rush in the morning. He even finished his classes around 3 PM, and then he had time to go out to the wild to earn some extra money. ZHE also calculated that, even if he didn't do any tasks these days, he could still make some money. Otherwise, no one could stand spending money without making any money. Although this afternoon trip more than doubled his worth, he still had to learn to plan ahead, as the training funds for the 4th Pokémon were still a bit far away. Back in the room, ZHE prepared dinner for the 3 Pokémon, and then he sat on the sofa to check the watch information that he hadn't looked at all afternoon. The first thing that caught his eye was a call from Dr. Yamanashi, whom he had marked as an important person. After seeing his message, Tetsuya immediately called back. Beep. After a few rings, the phone was picked up. "Hello, this is Yamanashi. Please tell me what I want to say." Drive Yamanashi, it's me, Tetsuya. He began to apologize. I muted my watch when I was exploring outside this afternoon, so I didn't see your call. I'm very sorry. Oh, it's Tetsuya. It's okay. It's okay. You have to pay attention to safety when you are adventuring in the wild. You should have returned to school by now, right? Dr. Yamanashi stopped what he was doing. Yeah, I'm back. Zaya responded, and then began to answer the questions in Dr. Yamanashi's message. I found this Craniophagus fossil in a Tyrannosaurus rex cave outside of Mount Tsukimi. I have subdued that Tyrannosaurus rex and stored it at the Nabigium. If you need anything, just contact them directly. I have already talked to the staff of the Nabigium. I will send you the specific location of the cave through the watch positioning later, and the map route will also be in it. According to the description of the Tyrannosaurus rex, the fossil should have been there from the beginning, and it didn't pay attention to it after it moved in, and it has been embedded in the rock wall. I did a simple survey of the surrounding area, and there are no other traces of fossils. Dr. Yamanashi nodded slightly, and then realized that this was a voice call, and ZHE on the other side could not see his movements. Okay, I understand. The discovery of this fossil can still explain a lot of problems. Oak and I will have to take people to make a trip later. Fortunately, you found it. Otherwise some other uneducated guys would get it and sell it to collectors for money. That would be a big loss. There was a hint of dissatisfaction with some trainers in his tone. Of course, Tetsuya modestly said that he was just lucky. After a few pleasantries, Dr. Yamanashi didn't say much. He just briefly learned about the situation and said that he would call him for the reward he deserved. He said that he still had experiments to do and hung up the phone. Tetsuya waved his arms, very excited. Quite good. Speaking of which, he didn't expect that he would have such a harvest after going back to the nest of the Tyrannosaurus rex and looking through it and found a complete fossil of the Craniosaurus. He had specially learned about the relevant knowledge before and knew that this kind of Pokémon fossil had only been found in the distant Sinnoh. Now it appeared in the moon viewing mountain in Kanto, which is of great significance for various research. If this fossil is sold to those wealthy collectors, it can be said that he will become rich overnight. After all, so far, there are only 3 complete Craniosaur fossils, 2 of which are in the research institute in the Sinnoh region, and only 1 is privately owned. His fossil is the first in Kanto, and its significance and value are even higher. For collectors, it is simply a rare treasure. However, he still chose to give the fossil to Professor Yamanashi. Compared with simple funds, Tetsuya felt that it was more important to build a good relationship with the regional professors. Didn't he hear Professor Yamanashi say that Professor Oak was also interested? And the research institute is not paying. It just said that there is not so much. If it doesn't pay, how can there be trainers willing to work for free every day? Really, Professor Oak may be the richest collector. He simply packaged the information just mentioned and sent it to Professor Yamanashi, and then Tetsuya looked at the second message, which happened to be the transfer record and remarks of the Light Moss Research Institute under the name of the Oak Research Institute. Just for that piece of light clay half the size of a palm, the other party sent 3 million alliance coins. He smiled with satisfaction. You see, this kind of semi-monopolistic research institute is the real rich man, not to mention its superior department. This is 10% higher than the purchase price he knew before. It is estimated that they are doing some experiments that require a lot of money to raise the purchase price. This kind of thing often happens. Then the third and fourth messages were simple greetings from people he met on the Saint Anu last time. ZHE replied casually and didn't pay attention. He began to calculate the income from this trip. In fact, there is nothing to calculate. The main thing is the complete fossil of the Craniosaurus plus 2 pieces of moonstone, plus the taming of the iron-armored Tyrannosaurus. The other income is not as much as the fraction of the previous ones. ZHE also felt that he was a little inflated. If the moonstone is sold, he will not have to worry about his financial problems in the next 2 or 3 months. However, he still has other plans, but he has not yet determined them. He is not in a hurry. The price of this kind of evolutionary stone will not fall. I just don't know how much the Oak Research Institute will give for this fossil, but I think it will not be small. That is to say, he was lucky, and he was skilled and bold, and he knew the general strength of the Pokémon, so he could have such a harvest. Who would provoke a wild Pokémon with unknown strength? Who knows if it will be a Quasi King or even a King? Knowing that the probability is not high, he is not willing to gamble his life. Moreover, if it were an ordinary trainer, the potential of the Pokémon in his hand would only be an elite, so how could he beat an elite level Tyrannosaurus with Quasi King potential? Especially this Tyrannosaurus has rich combat experience. Not to mention the two Nidokings and Nidoqueen and their group of subordinates. It is mainly because of the high qualifications of Flame Chicken and Mantle Rock that they can easily deal with ordinary Pokémon, so the process seems a bit easy. Outside the window, night fell, and the three Pokémons lay in their lounge and began to rest while they took out the materials and began to study. The lights in the teachers' rooms next door were also on. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for the monthly ticket. I want everything! Exclamation mark. Thank you Lingfeng Daizang for the reward of 100 starting coins. Thanks to Bookfriend 20210692108444263 for the 100 starting coins. Thanks to Haswok for the 100 starting coins. Thanks to Bookfriend 150,505,104,446,832 for the 100 starting coins. Thanks to Bookfriend 150,505,104,446,832 for the 100 starting coins. Thanks to Bookfriend 20180219235106912 for the 100 starting coins. Chapter 105 Training and Class. The morning sun shines on the campus of the Pokémon Research School, and the surroundings are extremely quiet. However, many people and Pokémons have already started their daily training in the training ground. In a room in the gravity room, Blaziken is lying on the instrument, with two weights hanging on his calves, and a special barbell. He exerts his body strength and struggles to raise his calves. Very good, keep going, raise up. Zaya is watching and encouraging Blaziken. Flames occasionally appear on Blaziken's claws. It is a little tired, and can't control its energy overflow. Oh my. It screamed, and finished the last move, panting. Zaya took the weight off its feet, patted its body, and then took out a few pomelo fruits. Thank you for your hard work. Reaction training will start later. You can go to the field over there. I have to go to Pidgeot's place. He told Blaziken that he had brought 3 Pokémons to check the site in advance last night, and explained the basic training items to them. It shouldn't be a big problem. Go. Flame stood up, ate the pomelo fruit, and nodded to show that he understood. Oh, by the way, there is no gravity field over there, so you have to bring this with you. Before leaving, Tetsuya also threw down a weighted suit, which was newly replaced at the White Cape. The old one could no longer satisfy the stronger Flame. Flame looked at Tetsuya's back as he left, then looked at the black weighted suit on the chair, and sighed helplessly. The training arrangement of his trainer was really too devilish, but it was indeed a reward for every sweat, and he became stronger very quickly. Flame was not without Pokémon that he knew, and he had chatted with other Pokémon during the rest of the training. Other trainers were not as powerful as his own. It took only about 5 months for it to evolve from birth to evolution, from a larva to its current strength, while other Pokémon took at least several years. The Pokémon that Flame knew all thought that its trainer was the best one except for their own trainer. After eating 3 pomelo fruits, Blaziken walked out of the gravity room with the remaining tree fruits and weighted clothes. Bebe Blaziken, wearing a weighted clothes, walked into the reaction training field and greeted the several Pokémons who were already inside. Kabayanike, a duck-like Pokémon with a blue body and a red bead on its forehead, raised its paw and returned the greeting handsomely. Blaziken knew that this guy should be the water-type Golduck, and the trainer had mentioned it to it. The other Pokémon who responded to it was the 4-armed humanoid Pokémon, Sturm. Although his muscles were exaggerated, and he looked extremely strong, Sturm's personality was unexpectedly gentle. He walked up to Blaziken and asked where his trainer was, and if he needed help. Blaziken said he knew how to use it. Sturm nodded and walked to the rest area on the side and sat down. He was still worried that this new face would be at a loss later, so he decided to watch from the side for a while just in case. Blaziken walked into the venue, and there were 2 Pokémon inside that had not responded to it just now. One was a 4-legged Pokémon with the appearance of a fox, covered with beige fur, with a pair of bright red eyes and 9 tails. It glanced at Blaziken and said nothing, looking particularly aloof. The 9 tails behind it swung quickly, maintaining its balance, while knocking away all the bouncy balls that were flying towards it one by one. Blaziken sighed. What a noble and elegant Pokémon, and how powerful it was. Then it looked at another blue-black dog Pokémon, who took the time to silently nod to it, and then used his hands and feet to respond to the training in a dazzling posture. It couldn't recognize which Pokémon it was, but its fighting skills were so superb, better than its own Scyther master, and there was an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Blaziken ignored this feeling, barked, cheered itself up, and then started its own training. In addition to the occasional barking in the venue, there was the sound of the training bouncy balls flying rapidly in the air. Tetsuya came to the wind pressure room where Pidgeot was. The structure was basically the same as the wind pressure room at the Nabi gym, but the maximum level of wind force inside was higher. Watching Pidgeot constantly moving forward against the wind in the storm, sometimes flapping his wings to draw an arc, sometimes swaying his body, and his speed increased. He nodded slightly. Pidgeot's strength can be said to be his current trump card, even if Blaziken and Pidgeot are basically 40-60. This is because Blaziken's qualifications are 2 levels higher than Pidgeot, otherwise Blaziken's winning rate will only be lower. After all, Pidgeot is not only higher in level, but also richer in age and experience than Blaziken. Although Pidgeot's level was raised slowly due to funding before, in this process, Pidgeot has also been trained to perfection in mastering skills and controlling the timing of battle. Scyther did teach Blaziken a lot of fighting skills, but it still needs further battles and tempering to master them. After a quick look and confirming that Pidgeot was fine, ZHE left quietly. He still had to go to the Mantle Rock to take a look. There was no other way. Time was still a bit tight. This is why the league stipulates that a trainer can only carry 6 Pokémon with him, because if there are more, you may not be able to take care of them. Of course, if you apply, it can be approved depending on the situation, allowing you to bring more Pokémon, but ordinary people should not even think about it. Arriving at the simulated environment of the Mantle Rock, ZHE also began to communicate with it on how to further master the power of sand. 12:30 PM. Location: Pokémon Research School Room 201. ZHE was reviewing the homework he reserved yesterday. The cultivation plans proposed by the students are all good. They basically reflect their own thinking patterns, based on the existing knowledge. Let's look at them one by one. The plan proposed by Yuto Side is to focus on the cultivation of paralysis powder as one of the 3 powders. The materials are hemp fruit and gold leaf powder. The reaction between the 2 is based on. Guihang proposed the idea of mixing sleeping powder and paralysis powder. The materials are hemp fruit and blue sleeping fruit. From the conception point of view, this is indeed feasible, but Guihang missed it. Akimoto Irie hopes. He talked about the advantages and disadvantages of the students' cultivation plans one by one. Sure enough, they are still children, and have not considered many places. Zay has also been thinking about the cultivation of grass-type elves recently, so he chose to use this knowledge point as his own course. Anyway, the school has no regulations on what to teach, it all depends on his own ideas. Next, please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for the monthly ticket. I want everything! Exclamation mark. Thank you Z Legend for the 1500 starting coins. Thanks to the book friend 2020081419154327 for the reward of 100 starting coins. Thanks to Woonei DIYing for the reward of 100 starting coins. Chapter 106 The So-Called Cultivator. Let's watch a video first. The computer screen was turned on, showing a battle between a duck-billed Charmeleon and a Brawldragon. After showing the first video to the students, they began to ask questions. Based on the details of the battle in the video, do you know what went wrong with the direction of the Charmander in this video? It was still Sunday who raised his hand and answered. Charmander is a fire-breathing Pokémon with a body temperature of up to 1200 degrees. The hotter the place, the more energetic it is. From the battle video, it can be seen that the heat wave caused by Charmander around it does not meet the average level, and even the shape of the vortex is dispersed when using the flame vortex. This situation is often seen when the cultivation material is incorrectly used with vermilion honey. Vermilion honey itself is a material of fire attribute, and it can indeed increase the energy intensity of fire-type elves. However, research has found that for elves such as Charmander, vermilion honey can quickly increase the energy level, while causing its control over the flame to decrease. Good answer, but remember to complete the supplement of several elves next time. As a breeder, the first task in the future is naturally to cultivate elves. We must clearly know the degree of fit between each elf and the cultivation material. It does not mean that they can be used for cultivation if the attributes are the same. Even some materials with the same attribute are poisonous to individual elves of this attribute, and be careful not to quench your thirst with poison. Rapidly increasing the energy level will inevitably lead to other hidden dangers. Of course, you must also pay attention to command and battle, otherwise it is useless to have strength and level alone. Let's take a look at the second video. Toucan uses the Fierce Storm. Because this is a rocky site, it will roll up a lot of dust. ZHE also continued to explain according to the video. Breeders in the Pokémon world are not simply knowing the habits of Pokémon and what kind of food they like. These are even just basic knowledge. Breeders, the key is naturally the word breeding. Every breeder must clearly know and understand the development direction, breeding methods, health status and other issues of different Pokémon, and give corresponding plans. Powerful breeders can even simply judge the strength of a Pokémon based on its appearance and hair condition, and point out its shortcomings. In fact, breeders were also a type of trainer a long time ago, referring to those who are particularly specialized in the cultivation and health management of Pokémon among trainers. However, in recent years, under the subdivision concept of the Alliance, breeders have gradually separated from the trainer group in terms of concept. One is mainly responsible for the cultivation of health and level, and the other is responsible for the training and command of strength and battle. In other words, breeders have gradually become a role similar to logistics, and some people's jobs are to keep, care for and hatch Pokémon eggs or Pokémon beauty. Of course, in traditional cognition, the two are actually complementary concepts. Breeders and trainers are still one, but everyone has their own emphasis. It doesn't mean that, if your main development direction is a breeder, then the battle part of the trainer is not for you, or that you are a trainer, so you don't know the relevant knowledge of breeders. It's just that people who specialize in breeders will naturally be a little worse in command, and people who specialize in trainers may not be as professional as breeders in breeding. Now most trainers are still going in this direction. That is, breeding and training are done at the same time, and powerful trainers are often excellent breeders at the same time. Of course, they may only be exceptionally good at breeding a few elves, and they are not very good at breeding other elves. Only a small number of people are more interested in breeding, or have better talents in it, so they choose to be a simple breeder. These people often become the logistics support for some powerful trainers, helping them become stronger. Trainers also have to pay rewards or other things for this, which is mutually beneficial. However, it is not a simple matter to become a true breeder as stipulated by the Alliance. Breeders are divided into 11 levels. The first 10 levels are arranged in numbers. Level 1 breeders are the worst, level 10 breeders are the best, and above that are the respected breeding masters. In the first 10 levels, each level of the Alliance has stipulated relevant requirements, and you must also take the corresponding level of breeder examination. Only after passing can you be given the status of a breeder. This exam is not so easy to pass, especially after the high level. Even most people may only be around level 4 breeders for their entire lives. Breeders below level 4 are often called apprentices, and only when they reach this dividing line can they be recognized as real breeders. Because level 4 breeders can simply make some energy blocks by themselves and allow them to be sold, there is still hope for more skilled people to open a store and make a lot of money, and they can live a good life. After all, the cost price, the success rate in the production process, and the quality of the product must be considered. Yes, the production and sale of energy cubes requires the authorization of the Alliance. Zay thinks that it is equivalent to the business license of the previous life. Without this license, it is illegal to operate. Even without the corresponding level of a breeder certificate, the fruit mixer for making energy cubes cannot be sold to you. It is a strategic material, and I don't know what the Alliance wants to do. So although in theory they can also use fruit to make energy cubes, and the success rate should be high according to deduction, he has no choice because of this regulation. After all, his age and status are there. Fortunately, the breeder exam will start this year. One of the conditions he and Nubby Jim have agreed on is to let Nubby Jim recommend him to skip the grade and participate in the 6th level breeder assessment. Nibby Jim naturally has this way, or it can be said that this is one of the benefits granted to them by the Alliance. Otherwise, they, who just turned 16 this year, can only participate in the 1st level breeder assessment, and he has to take the exam 1 level up every year, which is very efficient. Back in the classroom, while teaching knowledge to the students in front of him, they also sighed that the gap between civilians and the descendants of these families is too big. Normal civilians at the age of 12 have only completed the study of basic knowledge. According to Zay's judgment, these 16 little guys in front of him can basically pass the assessment of the 1st level breeder. Some outstanding people, such as Sunday and Ghost Feather Eagle, can even try to be a 2nd level breeder. So it is too difficult for civilians to develop with the help of acquired opportunities. Zay once again sighed at the beauty of the zero chip accompanying him through time. The bell rang, and Zay announced that he would leave the classroom after class. He still had to rush to make money in the afternoon. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for the monthly ticket. Whatever you want! Exclamation mark. Thank you for the 100 starting coins that have been saved by this name. Chapter 107, 3 Visits to Dead Leaves. A week of teaching and educating people passed in a flash. Tetsuya put Pidgeot back into the luxury ball, looked at the familiar yet strange city in front of him, and breathed a sigh of relief. This week was quite fulfilling. However, after staying in the woods for a long time, he would also want to go back to the city. Especially this week, he was either in class or in the wild, which was a bit boring. So as soon as his mission was completed, he took Pidgeot to Vermilion City. Although he had been here twice before, he only got to know the city a little bit and stayed there for very little time. As usual, Tetsuya went to the Pokémon Center first. It was still early, but Miss Joy had already started her day's work. She booked a gym battle for the Vermilion Gym, which should be resolved in the afternoon if nothing went wrong. Speaking of which, he didn't have to challenge Vermilion City, and some other formal gyms were not far from the Pokémon school. But perhaps out of obsession in his previous life, Tetsuya still chose to challenge them one by one in the order in the animation. Of course, he would definitely not go to the Tokiwa gym. When the time comes, I can just find a formal gym to fight for the missing badge. As for others who were curious about why he, a native of Viridian City, didn't challenge the Viridian Gym, ZHE said it was none of your business, why not just take something else? Then he asked Miss Joy to book a room, and he ran inside to stay. The restaurant wasn't open yet, so let's go eat later. He released the 3 Pokémon from the luxury ball. Compared to the space inside the Pokéball, ZHE felt that the air outside was more comfortable for the Pokémon. Pidgeot flapped his wings, creating a gust of wind in the closed room, which attracted a burst of angry glares. He narrowed his eyes and looked at ZHE in a flattering way, rubbing his head against his chest, and then Pidgeot lay down on the floor next to him. It has been getting lazier recently. Apart from normal training and fighting, it spends most of its time resting. Mantle Rock also learned to lie down to the side and stop making any noise. Speaking of which, the energy crystals on Mantle Rock's body have been getting brighter and brighter recently, which is a good thing. ZHE still has to contact Xiaogang about the communication evolution. After all, he couldn't trust ordinary people. Communication evolution requires exchanging Pokémons. What if they run away? After coming out, Flame stood straight, eyes closed, claws crossed up and down, and a milky white gas surrounded the claws in a bull shape. Go as if it felt the gaze of its trainer, Flame called out calmly, and opened its eyes. The white ball between its claws gradually disappeared. It seems that you have mastered the wave missile quite well recently. ZHE also sighed. Go. Flame raised its claws to show that it was, of course, it was talented, and Lucario teacher said so. He shook his head. Sure enough, the calm flame just now was just his illusion. Speaking of which, when Flame said that it had mastered the wave missile a few days ago, ZHE was also very surprised. He never thought that his Flame had such a talent in wave guidance. Maybe it was also in line with its championship qualifications. After all, the wave missile represents the ability of the power of wave guidance, which not all Pokémon can learn. When asked about Blaziken, it said that it was a Lucario it met in the training ground who taught it. Later, ZHE also asked that Lucario, and it was the first time that he experienced the magic of wave power. When Lucario was emitting blue light to communicate with him, ZHE was also surprised. This was indeed a bit of fantasy. Fortunately, the connection of wave power is not like the telepathy of superpowers, which can directly communicate across races. It just means that compared to general communication, it can better understand the meaning of the elves. Lucario believes that Blaziken is very talented in fighting and wave. Even in its own tribe, it has not seen too many elves with such talents. As a natural wave Pokémon, the Riolu tribe is not as talented as Blaziken. You can imagine how talented Blaziken is. So it took the initiative to say that after Blaziken stays here for a period of time, it can teach Blaziken about the use of wave and fighting skills. Of course, Zay agreed very happily. He observed through Zero that this Lucario had the terrifying strength of a quasi champion. Ordinary Pokémons don't have this opportunity to get its guidance. And about the origin of the Lucario in front of him, combined with the previous news, Zay had more or less some guesses in his heart. In order to verify his guess, he calmly expressed that he hoped to communicate with Lucario's trainer and express his gratitude. Lucario, who could sense his excitement, hesitated for a moment, thinking that this was also a very normal thing, and said that his trainer would come in an hour or two, and he could wait for a while, if he didn't mind. They certainly didn't mind, and sat in the lounge next to him for 2 hours, calling it waiting, and observing the training of Flame Chicken, and finally waited for the trainer. When Lucario's trainer stepped into the training ground, Zay's joy was simply beyond words. It's really Serona. But he quickly restrained himself and waited until Lucario and Blaziken came out of the training ground and Serona and Lucario began to communicate. Then he walked forward. Thinking of this, ZHE also looked at Blaziken with satisfaction. What a good boy. He couldn't be more good. Please continue to use your communication skills. Blaziken looked at his trainer's eyes looking at him a little strangely, tilted his head, and ignored him. Just practiced Wava Guide more. Then he closed his eyes again and began to comprehend Wava Guide. The so-called Wava Guide is the perception of the energy of everything. At present, it is still not so used to it, so it needs to close its eyes and concentrate. ZHE also called up the thesis materials in the watch and continued to study. After a long time, the sound outside began to gradually become noisy. ZHE also frowned and looked at the time. It was almost time for breakfast, but why was it so noisy? Turn off the watch, take back the 3 Pokémon, walk out of the room, and a busy scene comes into view. Come here, this Rattata needs intensive treatment. Lan, push it toward 2. Over there, Key, you and Jigglypuff, heal that Rumble Rock. The rock on its surface is seriously injured. The Joy Leaders in the Pokémon Center were busy, surrounded by Pokémon lying on beds and trainers beside them. ZHE also blinked his eyes. What's going on? Please invest, please collect, please recommend, please vote. I want anything! Exclamation mark. Thank you for the 100 starting coins from What's the Fear of Death? Fight again for 100 lifetimes. Thank you for the 200 starting coins from River Crab Banksy. Thank you for the 100 starting coins from Ice Cream Dragon. PS. My relative is in the hospital, so I went to visit him. The 5 PM update is slightly delayed. Let's see if I can add an update in the evening today. Chapter 108, Deadleaf Gym. The Vermilion Gym is really hard to challenge. I was beaten like this a few times before. Forget it, let's go to the neighboring Ishibashi city to challenge it tomorrow. Yes, the key is that, since the old gym leader of the Vermilion Gym passed the position to the new gym leader, Mazishi, the apprentices have become more and more ruthless. Zaya listened to the conversations of several trainers next to him and realized what was going on. He was not unaware that the Vermilion Gym was extremely tough in its attitude towards challengers, but it was the first time he really saw a ruthless gym battle, so he was somewhat surprised. This may also be related to the fact that Masashi, the gym leader, had just taken office not long ago. Masashi was a major in the Air Force. He flew a special plane that used electricity attribute Pokémon to generate electricity and participated in large and small battles. He advocated an aggressive combat command method, and real enemies would not say stop at a certain point, so they would hit harder. When educating the gym apprentices under him, their personalities gradually became closer to him. However, the reputation of Masashi gym leader was not very bad, because when someone analyzed the badge acquisition situation of all official gyms, they found that, even if the Vermilion Gym was very heavy-handed, its challenges and successes were still at the forefront. This makes people very curious. There can't be so many people who like to fight, so they interviewed many trainers. As a result, people found that the Vermilion Gym can be said to be a very responsible type of gym. Generally speaking, you can just beat the general gym and forget about it. In addition to getting the badge, there is actually no big gain. But the Vermilion Gym is different. After the battle, regardless of the victory or defeat, the gym staff will point out your shortcomings to you. Of course, it is up to you to listen or not. There will even be targeted dispatches with electric type Pokémon that can relatively restrain you, forcing you to react on the spot and recognize your shortcomings. Many trainers have made good progress in their strength after successfully challenging the Vermilion Gym several times in a row. Although the gym does have the rule of helping challengers grow in the league, there are not many gyms that actually do it. This is why the Vermilion Gym was so heavy-handed and often complained about, and the Alliance still did not revoke its official gym status after inspection. Under such circumstances, the Vermilion Gym is still very popular among some trainers. Moreover, the personal strength and charm of the gym owner Masashi are also quite good. He has repelled several dangerous situations where wild Pokémons attacked the city. The Vermilion TV station also broadcasts his battle videos every day. ZHE also shook his head slightly at the miserable Pokémons and their trainers. The behavior of the Vermilion Gym is actually a good thing. Otherwise, if they all got the badge so easily like the Cerulean Gym, it would be hard to imagine the quality of the participants in the final conference. At the same time, this will also help trainers improve themselves and let them know that the battle is not only about the Pokémons on the field, but also the trainers off the field. By the way, what is your mentality of challenging the gym with a little Rattata? ZHE also looked at a little Rattata who had just been pushed in on the operating cart, and the shorts boy who was running and crying beside him, feeling helpless. He felt that, if he were a gym member, it would be difficult for him to accept this situation. This was obviously a trainer who had just obtained a Pokémon, and didn't know what was good for him. No matter how much he let them win, he would never be able to beat them. When he came to the restaurant to eat breakfast, Tetsuya's watch made a crisp sound. Ding dong, the logistics speed was too fast, very military style, he sighed. He put a piece of sushi into his mouth with chopsticks, and opened the message. As expected, it was a gym battle appointment reminder. He looked at the requirements and there was nothing special. However, unlike the 2v2 gym battle between the two gyms before, the situation adopted by the Withered Leaf Gym was 1v1, that is, one game decided the winner. It was 11 o'clock in the morning, and there were still more than 2 hours. After finishing his breakfast slowly, Tetsuya came to the transmission device in the Pokémon Center, and turned on the matching computer. Dial the video call. Hello, this is Tetsuya Tamaki. I have communicated with you last night. I need to teleport the Tyrannosaurus Rex over now. The staff of the Nabi Gym over there had already made preparations. Okay, we can start teleporting now. Tetsuya put an empty Ultra Ball on the instrument, and the other side also put the Ultra Ball with the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Press the button, a flash of red light, and the Tyrannosaurus Rex has been teleported. He confirmed it, and nodded to the computer. I have received it. Thank you for your trouble. I will send it back around 1 PM. Okay, I wish you good luck in martial arts. After ending the conversation, Tetsuya walked to the special training ground and released the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Roar. The Tyrannosaurus Rex roared subconsciously. The powerful body attracted the attention of many other trainers. Tetsuya smiled and patted its body. Big guy, how have you been there recently? Ah. The Tyrannosaurus Rex nodded. Very good, with food and drink every day, and it doesn't have to hunt by itself. It's just a matter of beating up some ignorant little guys, and occasionally making a hole as entertainment for it. And the Nidoking and Nidoqueen couple are now its subordinates, which is basically 3 times the happiness. ZHE also felt a little amused. Okay, everyone, you are here to help fight this time, you know, he explained. Yes, the Pokémon he registered for the gym battle was Tyrannosaurus Rex. After all, why not use it, if you can use attributes to restrain it? And Tyrannosaurus Rex's level is 41, and it has an advantage in all aspects against the Pokémon around level 37 sent by the gym. How can he lose with such a card? Impossible. After warming up with Tyrannosaurus Rex for a while, ZHE took it back and went to the Deadleaf gym. The appearance of the temple is quite personal and has attribute characteristics. ZHE also looked at the gym in front of him, which was covered with dense lightning signs, and commented that it was a bit disgusting, and he couldn't agree with his aesthetics. Today, he still wore a sleeveless top with shorts, which personally felt very refreshing. After entering the gym and waiting in the lounge, ZHE was ready to enter and start the formal challenge of the Vermilion Gym. Hey, boy, are you the one who registered the Tyrannosaurus Rex to challenge? He blinked his eyes and saw the person who was talking to him clearly. After confirming that there was nothing wrong with his eyes, he greeted the other person helplessly and respectfully. Good afternoon, Gym Master Masashi. If I'm not mistaken, it is indeed me, Tetsuya Tamaki. The strong man opposite had a stern face. He was the gym master of the Vermilion Gym. Masashi. Do gym masters nowadays have so much free time? You don't go to work, but you come here to entertain guests, Zaya complained crazily in his heart. No wonder he was so excited, because the person opposite was a real king level trainer. Masashi stood upright on the command platform opposite. He came here as Zaya's gym battle opponent on a whim. When he inspected the gym in the morning, he found that a registrant was only over 16 years old and had a level 41 Tyrannosaurus Rex. At the moment, he was actually very angry. It was very likely that this person borrowed the Pokémon of his elders to take a shortcut. For him, who likes trainers with backbone and who face challenges head on, this is simply unforgivable. He immediately decided to personally fight this ungrateful guy and educate his family. Then the staff in charge of logistics told him that this was a young genius trainer who had been noted and was invested by the Nabi Gym. Masashi became more interested. He wanted to see what kind of genius trainer he was, and he still couldn't rule out the possibility that this Tyrannosaurus Rex was not captured by him. So, it became the situation where he was standing opposite Tetsuya now. Masashi observed the boy in front of him with a stern face. Well, he was very good. The muscles in his hands and legs were trained for a long time, and they were not stereotyped muscles. He could feel that this boy was quite good at fighting. Boy, your hair is a bit too messy, he suddenly said. The majestic aura in his words subconsciously made Zaya stand up straight. Yes, I'm very sorry. He scratched his hair, that was almost to his shoulders. It seemed that it was a little too long. He remembered to cut it a long time ago, but he was busy and didn't take it seriously. Masashi stopped talking. He still preferred to communicate with the strength of the elves. Of course, it was an exception when educating stupid children. After the referee finished talking about the rules and waved the flag, the field fell into silence for a while. Zaya looked at the gym leader on the opposite side and was a little stunned. What was he doing? Masashi's face turned slightly red, and he clenched his left fist in front of his mouth and coughed. Go, my baby, elder. It has been a long time since he appeared as the challenged party in the gym battle, and his business ability has declined a bit. There threw the Super Bowl. Go, Tyrannosaurus. By the way, is the elf-like elder really used as a special elf for gym battles? Are gyms so arrogant now? How can he remember that the common elves in the Vermilion Gym are Electabuzz, Thunderman, Ronchian, and Magneto? You know, it's not easy to have an electric dragon in the herd of sheep. Masashi said, I recently cultivated this electric dragon. It has just evolved and is at level 31, so you don't have to worry too much. I really thank you for your comfort. ZHE was speechless. Iron Tyrannosaurus, Rock Blast. Of course, the command in his mouth was not slow at all. Masashi nodded slightly. Electric Dragon, use cotton spores, and then charge. The slightly weak spores flew in the air, intercepting the rapidly attacking rocks one by one. You call this thing cotton spores? The general cotton defense is not so exaggerated. ZHE only felt that his complaining soul was burning today. Even if the grass type has a higher resistance to rock type skills, this is somewhat exaggerated. But seeing the yellow light flashing on the electric dragon, he also hurried. Earthquake. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for the monthly ticket. I want everything! Exclamation mark. Thanks to Haswok for the 100 starting coins reward. Thanks to Kingfu Huanghan for the 100 starting coins for the character Arona. Thanks to Zizimeo for the 100 starting coins for the character Panjianguri. Thanks to Woody Pipatang for the 100 starting coins. Thanks to Chais Limingson for the 500 starting coins. Thanks to Boking Mengzichan for the 100 starting coins. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109, Battle with Masashi. The Tyrannosaurus Rex jumped slightly, its feet left the ground, and then hung. As it landed on the ground again, the whole venue began to shake. The face of the electric dragon was obviously painful. Ground-based skills were very effective for it. The charging skill that was being used was interrupted and could not be used successfully. Quick reaction. Masashi secretly admired in his heart. But how are you going to deal with this move? He thought with interest. Electric Dragon, Key Bomb. ZHE's face changed. This is too foul. The power of the Key Bomb is as high as 120. It is also a fighting based big move. For the Tyrannosaurus Rex, it is very effective under the attribute Restraint. But whose level 31 Electric Dragon can learn the Key Bomb? Are you kidding me? Is it reasonable? The yellow skin of the electric dragon gradually emitted white light, and the light at the red sphere on the forehead was particularly strong. The flat hand slowly raised to the middle of his white abdomen, forming a platinum sphere. Just before the Thunder Dragon made these moves, ZHE hurriedly directed the Tyrannosaurus Rex to respond. He didn't think that Masashi was just shouting out skills. Use your tail to swing up the rock collapse, then smash it with both arms. Then he saw that the Thunder Dragon was really charging up the power to use the true energy bullet, and he immediately felt a pain in his teeth. As the Tyrannosaurus Rex turned its body slightly, it used its tail to roll up the stone and launch the rock collapse skill towards the Thunder Dragon, and a burst of white light condensed on its hands. After the Thunder Dragon was hit by the rock collapse, the pain on its face became more intense, but it endured the pain and threw the charged true energy bullet. The platinum light ball quickly flew towards the Tyrannosaurus Rex and collided with the arms of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. After a stalemate, the light ball exploded, stirring up a burst of smoke and dust. Tyrannosaurus Rex, continue. Just when ZHE wanted the Tyrannosaurus Rex and the smoke to continue attacking, Masashi spoke. Okay, that's enough. You've passed this gym battle. Masashi knew that Dragonite was in a bad state. Judging from what he had just seen, although Tyranitar was seriously injured, it would not lose its ability to fight directly. The power of a single arm hammer was 100. With both hands using the hammer at the same time, and a certain level advantage, Masashi estimated that the opponent's reserved stamina could receive another Kai Bomb. The purpose of the gym battle is nothing more than to select qualified trainers. He believes that Tetsuya is already good enough. There is no need to let Dragonite, who is already unable to fight, suffer more damage. Tetsuya immediately stopped commanding, and soon, the smoke and dust gradually dissipated. Tyranitar was in the field, with his arms in front of him, in a defensive posture, with scars all over his body, and he kept breathing heavily. His eyes were fixed on the almost exhausted Dragonite on the opposite side. Okay, Tyranitar, the battle is over. Hearing the trainer's words, Tyranitar let down his guard a little and breathed a sigh of relief. The two of them took back their Pokémon at the same time. Thank you for your hard work, Dragonite. Thank you, Tyranitar. Marzish's face, which had been stern all the time, suddenly smiled, and it seemed a little stiff. Very good command, and quick reaction, but you are a little nervous. ZHE also smiled awkwardly. After all, it was the first time he faced a real king level trainer, and he was indeed a little nervous. Otherwise, facing a Dragonite who was just a beginner, Tyranitar wouldn't have fought so badly. He didn't react for a while, and should have let Tyranitar rush up to fight in close combat directly with rock grinding, so that many of the charged skills of Dragonite could not be used. If it didn't charge, it could only use its own skills at most, and electric skills were ineffective against Tyranitar. ZHE also reflected on himself. He was still a little young. Marzishi walked in front of him and took out an orange badge of the Withered Leaf Gym from his clothes pocket. Now, the orange badge is yours. Come on, young man. ZHE subconsciously took the badge, and just when he was about to thank him, Marzishi had already walked out of the battlefield. At this time, the referee who had long lost his presence came forward and said, "Trainer Tetsuya Tamaki, just keep this badge. We will complete the corresponding information entry." The process of fighting with gym leaders is different from the general process. He quickly expressed his gratitude and then left the Vermilion Gym and returned to the Pokémon Center. After handing the Ultra Ball of Tyrannosaurus to Miss Joy and asking her to recover it, Tetsuya sat aside and began to think. To be honest, he did not expect that his opponent in the gym battle this time would be the gym leader, and the whole process seemed a bit anticlimactic. Although it can be considered that the winner has been decided, he always feels something strange, and there is no guidance as promised, which is very strange. At this time, in the office of the Vermilion Gym leader, the yellow-haired Marzishi was wearing a jacket and pinching his temple with a headache. Oops, he left in a hurry and forgot to give advice. It's really a waste of time. It seems that I need to visit the gym more recently. The Tyrannosaurus should have been just captured. The tacit understanding is average, but the command is still excellent, he thought. Of course, ZHE didn't know what Marzishi was thinking at this moment. Although it was strange, getting the badge was enough to make him happy. Unfortunately, he left in a hurry and didn't use his signature moves. He regretted it in his heart. As for now, if he performed the moves in the lobby of the Pokémon Center and was watched by a lot of people, he would probably be on the forum discussion thread the next day. He became famous in one day and died socially. Beep, the phone call on the watch suddenly sounded. ZHE glanced at the caller and answered the phone in confusion. "Hello, this is Tetsuya Tamaki." A voice that was very similar to Zio Gang sounded. "Good afternoon, brother Tetsuya. Long time no see. This is Jiro, Zio Gang's second brother. He is currently 14 years old, but he often works with Zio Gang and the martial arts gym owner. He is even more stable than Zio Gang. During the time he stayed in the Nabi gym, he often chatted with Jiro, but since he came out, Jiro has never contacted him. He didn't know why he suddenly found him. Long time no see, Jiro. Do you have anything to talk to me about?" Brother Tetsuya is still so direct. Jiro chuckled. "I have something important to tell you, but it's not that big." Tetsuya didn't say anything either. He was used to Jiro's strange way of speaking, and he knew that Jiro would add to it himself. Sure enough, Jiro just took a breath and continued. "Brother Tetsuya, if you have something to do, or need something in the future, you have to contact me for help." "What happened to Zio Gang?" Tetsuya asked subconsciously. "Father asked my brother to go to the mole cave to train with grandfather, saying that he wanted to gain some insights. I don't know the details." Jiro responded on the other side. "Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for me. I want everything!" Exclamation mark. Thank you Oriki is not a cat for the 100 starting coins. Thank you Desperate Book Shortage for the 100 starting coins. Thank you Yuuki Mingayuna for the 100 starting coins. Thank you for the 100 starting coins. Chapter 110 Fishing Competition. Okay, actually you can just send me a message to tell me about this kind of thing. It's not a big deal. Tetsuya said nonchalantly. I still need to call Tetsuya to tell you formally. Jiro smiled and replied, there's nothing else. Tetsuya, you probably haven't eaten yet. Let's eat first, and contact me later if there's anything. Okay. Tetsuya agreed and hung up the phone. To be honest, he felt that Jiro was sometimes even more reliable than Gang, and he didn't know if it was his illusion. In the backyard of the Nabi gym, Jiro looked at his father, Wooneng. It's a deal, father. Wooneng had a dark face and nodded slightly. Well, Tetsuya Tamaki is a good trainer, with good talent and a good brain. You should get in touch with him more during this period. Yeah. Jiro looked at his father, who was in an unusually bad mood, and comforted him. It's okay, brother, he's fine. Calm down. Don't mention that bastard. It was all Zaomi who led him astray. Wooneng cursed. It's been sent to Grandpa. Grandpa will take care of it. Jiro said it was no big deal. Wasn't his father taught by Grandpa in the same way? No, I have to talk to your mother. Wooneng still couldn't let it go, and walked out. Jiro was about to say something, but he stopped. He wanted to say that his mother Zaomi just walked into the house and didn't go out. But forget it, he couldn't just watch his father get beaten up. Who made his mother a water type expert? Jiro shrugged, sighed, and walked towards the gym. His eldest brother was sent to his grandfather, and he suddenly became extremely busy. Not only did he need to replace Gang to take charge of the gym's affairs, but he also had to take care of his younger brothers and sisters, and he had to study by the way. Life was so difficult. Master Jiro, Miss Joy from the Pokémon Center, asked you to bring different Pokémons over. The new generation of universal Pokémon energy level detection equipment has arrived. She said you need to confirm the accuracy again. The staff was walking towards here quickly, and when they saw Jiro, their faces lit up, and they started talking from a distance. Jiro nodded with a gentle smile, to show that he understood, then turned and walked into the breeding room, to start selecting the Pokémon he needed. For people like them who are inside the alliance, especially those in the gym, the Pokémon energy level detection equipment they are equipped with is actually very accurate. But the price is that it is also very expensive. In order to expand the scale and improve efficiency, the general version at the Pokémon Center will inevitably control costs, and the accuracy will also decline. After all, this involves the gym challenge, so although the Joai family must have measured it in advance, it still needs the local gym to confirm it, which is more or less a process. It's just very cumbersome. Jiro sighed silently. Life is not easy. Brother, please come back quickly. After hanging up the phone in Vermilion City, Zaya was notified that his giant Tyrannosaurus had recovered. As usual, he thanked Miss Joai, and just when he was about to leave, he saw a blue flyer next to him. This is an event that will be held in the Liya fishing ground this afternoon. Miss Joai looked at Zaya picking up the flyer and introduced the situation to him. Because Vermilion City is a port city, surrounded by rivers and oceans, the fishing industry is also extremely developed. We have 6 fishing grounds for trainers to fish, and one of them will hold similar events every 2 months. Ria Fishing Ground is the largest fishing ground, and the champion prize for this event is unexpectedly rich, which is the pearl produced when the pearl oyster evolves. If I were not too busy with work, I would have wanted to participate. Tetsuya listened to Miss Joy's popular science and looked at the introduction on the brochure, and his heart was moved. The pearl produced when the pearl oyster evolves is a rare thing. Pearl oysters are bivalve Pokémon with a pink body surrounded by a blue thing that looks like a shell for protection, but the composition is different. There are 2 routes for its evolution. One is to evolve into a hunting fish with deep sea fangs, and the other is to evolve into a cherry fish with deep sea scales. This is the conclusion drawn by Dr. Adamaki when he investigated the phenomenon that pearl oysters only undergo specific evolutions on different islands in Irohamishima, and found that the water flow in the caves on the island contained deep sea fangs and deep sea scales. A confirmation experiment was also conducted, and it was found to be true. A new category of Pokémon with multiple different evolutionary routes was added. Back to the pearl. Produced when the pearl oyster evolves, it can only evolve once in a lifetime, and can only make one gorgeous pearl in a lifetime. This pearl has the effect of improving mental strength and amplifying superpowers. Its value is dozens of times greater than that of the pearl of the giant tongue shell. If it were not for the fact that the deep sea fangs and deep sea scales only have effects on pearl oysters, its value would at least be multiplied several times. However, Zaire felt that he probably would not be able to win the championship. You know, there are many fishing uncles who enjoy fishing and make fishing their career. How could a young man like him win? And every trainer who participates, even if they don't get a good ranking, the Ria Fishing Ground will give a giant tongue shell pearl as a participation prize. Miss Joy looked at Zaire with a smile. The handsome boy is really cute. Everything is on his face. Okay, thank you Miss Joy. Zaire came back to his senses, smiled at Joy, and walked out of the hall. Hey, isn't that handsome boy called Tamaki Tetsuya? He's really handsome. No wonder Tokiwa keeps talking about him in the group. Yeah, he smiles so sweetly. Young people are great. Hey, why are you so horny? Are you attracted to him? I hate you. I'm looking at Tetsuya's back as he left. Several Miss Joys started to tease him playfully. Okay, keep working. An older Joy spoke up, also with a smile on his face. There was nothing he could do. The composition of the Joys basically determined that they were all relatives, and it was impossible to talk to them like normal superiors and subordinates. Tetsuya walked to the restaurant and started eating, continuing to study the fishing competition. The time is today at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. If you sign up, you can enter directly. The organizer will put countless marked Magikarp in a large lake. There is no limit to the number of Magikarp that one person can catch, but when you sign up, you will only get 3 special Pokeballs for catching. In other words, the final score is the total weight of the 3 Magikarp that you catch and put into the Pokeball. The person with the heaviest weight is the champion. The competition lasted for 3 hours. It seems quite interesting. It's not bad to go and play, ZHE also thought. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for me. I want anything! Exclamation mark. Thanks to Bored Prisoner for the 100 starting point coins. Thanks to Lonely Walker for the 100 starting point coins. Thanks to Deng Jillian for the 100 starting point coins. Thanks to Jiwai Liuxing for the 100 starting point coins. Thanks to Austin Wang for the 100 starting point coins. PS. The evolution method of pearl oyster should be to communicate after carrying it, but I carried it and evolved it directly, so it didn't have much impact. Chapter 111 Grand Scene. Wow, so many people. Zaire couldn't help but sigh at the huge flow of people in front of him. You know, in the Pokémon world, the land is vast and the population is sparse. Except for a few grand events or popular tourist attractions, it is rare to see groups of people gathering. He didn't see so many people last time he went to the White Cape for sightseeing. Not to mention near this fishing ground that is relatively far from the city suburbs. Although Zaire learned about this on the Pokémon forum before leaving to participate in this competition, he was still a little surprised by such a grand occasion. No wonder the fishing ground is willing to give such a good reward to the champion. This is equivalent to advertising. I saw a big banner hanging at the entrance of the fishing ground in front of me, with the words Lee Fishing Ground Fishing Competition written on it. Looking around, there are people dressed as anglers all around. Familiar people stand together in twos and threes, holding fishing rods and toolboxes, and talking and laughing. Of course, there are also many trainers like Zaire who come here empty-handed, with the purpose of participating. If you win the championship or something, you can make a small fortune, right? Hey, Tetsuya, good afternoon. A greeting came from behind. Tetsuya turned around and also greeted with a smile. Zaire, good afternoon. A yellow-haired man who looked like a bad boy was standing behind him. He glanced at the other person's shoulder. Why can't I see your Pikachu? It is undergoing special training with Brother Marsish's Raichu. The boy replied. Zaire, whose full name is Feng Linyi, is the grandson of the previous owner of the Vermilion Gym. Tetsuya met him on the St. Anu. He is a man with a strong sense of justice. Speaking of which, Brother Marzishi told me about you before. Zaire said with a smile. He later found out that you were the champion of the St. Anu competition and kept praising you. The two chatted and laughed for a few words. The reason why Zaire appeared here is very simple, because one of the major shareholders behind the Lia Fishing Ground is the Vermilion Gym, and this time he is one of the persons in charge of the fishing competition. Just before coming here in the afternoon, Tetsuya was thinking about contacting the heir of the Dead Leaf Gym, so the two of them made an appointment to meet. Come on, I'll take you in first to get the registration done. Zayoi called Tetsuya to walk into the fishing ground. At this time, there was still some time before the competition started, and most of the contestants chose to wait outside. After all, most of them were fishing enthusiasts, and they had already registered through other means a few days ago. Only a small number of trainers like Tetsuya who were staying temporarily from outside would come here to register on the spot. Walking into the gate, Tetsuya looked at the huge sparkling lake in front of him and couldn't help but exclaimed. Combined with the forests and mountains in the distance, the scene in front of him was simply beautiful. It's big. It's beautiful. Zayoi introduced proudly. The lake in Liya fishing ground is called Poseidon Lake, which leads directly to the ocean. It is said that someone saw the figure of the sea god Lugia here a long time ago, hence the name. This is also the largest lake near Vermilion City. Because it is backed by forests and mountains, the scenery is very good. This is not only a fishing spot, but also a major attraction in Vermilion City. They came to a group of tents by the lake, and ignored the tents marked with the registration location. Zayoi took Zaya into a yellow tent, where only one person was sitting at a computer desk. Uncle Lei, help my friend sign up. The uncle called Uncle Lei took Zaya's ID card with a smile, and began to enter the information. Taking advantage of this time, Zayoi continued to explain to Zaya. This time we have divided 4 small lakes as the venues for the fishing competition, numbered from 1 to 4, and each venue has 24 fishing spots. The number and weight of the Magikarp released in the lakes are completely random, and no one knows the situation, so there is no good or bad in the venue. But I can ask Uncle Lei to give you a better fishing spot and let you go there in advance. Is there anything particular about the fishing spot? Zay made a puzzled sound. Zayoi also looked at him puzzledly. Didn't you go fishing every afternoon on the Sainton before? Although sea fishing is different from this, you shouldn't be unfamiliar with it. I fish for fun. I didn't know about it before. Zay shrugged. Zayoi rolled his eyes. Then you are really patient. You can stay for so long just for fun. I can't accept sitting there. Then he and Zay began to popularize the so-called fishing spots, and Zay roughly understood it after listening. It is because of various reasons that Magikarp will gather in groups in a few areas, and other places are scattered. Experienced anglers can determine which areas are the places where these Magikarp are active, and then fish there to get better results. There are always good and bad fishing spots in each venue, which is also a part of the championship test. Of course, it does not mean that the Magikarp in the good fishing spots must be heavier, but the probability is definitely higher than that of other places. There was a record of someone catching a super large Magikarp in a wild spot that is not a fishing spot, but this kind of thing is rare in 10 years. Uncle Lei was a master angler who won the 6 consecutive championships in our Vermilion City fishing ground. He is quite amazing. Zayoi introduced the unprepossessing uncle in front of him to Zay. The uncle smiled modestly, returned the ID card to Zay, and then handed him 3 special capture balls and the fishing rods that the competition officials temporarily lent to the contestants. After exchanging a few words, Zayoi and Zhe walked out of the tent. The two discussed the training of elves. Zayoi looked at the time and said goodbye to do things. Zay came to the number 3 lake venue, where he was assigned. As the competition time approached, some people began to circle around the venue. They knew from what he had just learned that they were choosing fishing spots. He looked around and found that the 24 fishing spots around were clearly marked with flags, and each flag had a number on it. Point 18. Over there. Zay walked towards the fishing spot that Uncle Lei had just told him about. There were already several uncle-level anglers sitting there. Seeing Zay walking over carelessly, holding a fishing rod for beginners that was temporarily borrowed by the official, several people had a rough idea in their minds. One of them asked with a smile, "You young man doesn't look like you like fishing. Come here to feel the atmosphere." "Yes, uncle, look at 18. If you want to make money, this fishing spot is definitely good." Zay swore and boasted. Several anglers were also amused and confused. This little guy is a fool with good luck. "Yes, this place is really good, then you have to work hard." Several people encouraged Zay in a friendly manner. Please invest, please collect, please recommend, please vote. I want anything! Exclamation mark. Thank you Baicho and Milio for the 100 starting coins. Thank you Wu Watchan for the 100 starting coins. Thank you ZHIRUO Chujan for the 100 starting coins. Thank you Bookfriend 2020081419154327 for the 100 starting coins. Thank you Bookfriend 2020061112272408 for the 1500 starting coins. Thank you Flying Ground Vov for the 100 starting coins. Thank you Miu for the 100 starting coins. Thank you La Shen Bingshan for the 100 starting coins. PS. There is another chapter this afternoon and evening. Chapter 112 Magikarp, Gyarados. As for the young man's achievements, several old anglers said that the most important thing is to participate. As time went by, the sun became hotter and hotter. The weather in the Kanto region is the best. It can be described as spring all year round. Even in summer and winter, the temperature does not change much, unlike some regions with distinct 4 seasons. There are more and more people around. The referee next to the fishing spot pressed the headset, as if communicating with someone, and then looked at the time. Now, the Liya Fishing Ground fishing competition officially begins. Everyone threw out their fishing rods at the same time, and a group of Pokeball-shaped floats floated on the water. Magikarp jumped out of the water from time to time on the lake. As for the height, it basically does not exceed 2 meters, and its ability is pitifully weak. Moreover, researchers still cannot understand the meaning of Magikarp's jumping. It seems to be jumping non-stop, very blindly. Magikarp is the weakest and most pitiful Pokémon in the world. Even in the water, it will be washed away by the faster water flow. But their vitality is extremely tenacious. They may be the most numerous spirit in the world. You can see them in any place with water. Because they are made of bones and have no flesh, except for a few bird spirits who occasionally prey on them. Basically no spirits use them as the staple food on the menu. Many places are flooded with Magikarp. The fishing competition chose to use them as a counting tool for this reason. Even if you are a person who values spirits above all else, you will not feel any pity for Magikarp. Basically, you can compare it to the carp in your previous life. While thinking, the float on Tetsuya's fishing rod began to shake slightly. When he picked it up, it was a small and pitiful Magikarp, about 0.5 meters long. He shook his head helplessly and put it back into the lake. People around him also gradually caught different Magikarp, but they were all very small. This is a normal thing. After all, as a spirit, no matter how stupid Magikarp is, it will still choose to avoid fishing rods after living for a long time. Now the ones caught are nothing more than some inexperienced little guys who have just been born. That's why the competition was given a time limit of 3 hours. Only when the time is too long, those old and big Magikarp will bite the hook because of hunger. Fishing is an activity that requires a lot of patience. And fishing to the end of the competition is also a test of a person's physical strength. Because in these 3 hours, Magikarp will bite your hook almost every moment. It's okay to pull it up once or twice, but if it happens too many times, many people will be exhausted. After all, Magikarp weighs at least several kilograms, and the slightly heavier ones exceed double digits. Everyone was fishing quietly. Suddenly, roar. A huge roar came from a lake in the distance. Zaya and the people around him turned their heads subconsciously. What happened? Several veterans kept fishing calmly, looking at them with a smile. Please don't panic. This is the cry of Magikarp after it evolves into Gyarados. The referee next to him began to explain. Although the possibility of Magikarp evolving is very low, the number of Magikarp in our fishing ground is here. There will always be 1 or 2 cases of Magikarp evolving into Gyarados in every fishing competition. It will not threaten everyone's safety. We have a special trainer who will be responsible for handling this matter. Sure enough, the blue long strip of Gyarados in the distance only roared a few times, and then there was no sound, and the trace also disappeared. It is estimated that it was defeated and captured by the trainer in charge of security who arrived in time. Everyone did not take this matter to heart. It seems that the rear fishing ground is indeed very experienced, and the several old people are also very accustomed to it. An hour passed, and ZHE also sighed slightly. So far, he has caught a Magikarp with a length of 1.2 meters. Although it is much higher than the average level, it is still a long way to go to get a better result. Several contestants nearby have already captured Magikarp with a length of more than 1.4 meters. The largest one is a man in his 40s, and the body length is estimated to be 1.8 meters. This is just the situation at one fishing spot. There are 24 fishing spots in total. His result is simply not good. It seems that it is probably just a consolation prize. Roar. Another shout, this time at the number 3 fishing spot where Tetsuya is. A huge Gyarados popped its head out in the center of the lake, roaring wildly, stirring up waves. The security personnel who had been prepared nearby immediately rushed over, released their tokens, and quickly dealt with the Gyarados, and put it into the Pokeball. A trace of doubt flashed through Tetsuya's heart, and at this time, the uncles next to him also began to communicate. Hey, how come so many Gyarados evolved this time? I remember that in the past, after a 3-hour match, there were only 1 or 2 at most. Today, there are 3 here alone. Yeah, it's very strange. Magikarp is not that easy to evolve. I see that many Magikarp have appeared in the number 2 and number 4 venues next to it, and I don't know how many Magikarp have evolved in the number 1 venue farther away. Maybe this batch of Magikarp is very lucky. They are almost at the node of evolution, which caused this situation. ZHE also felt more and more strange. This can no longer be described as good luck. Magikarp is not so easy to evolve into Gyarados, otherwise why not many people are willing to cultivate it? And from what these uncles said, this kind of thing has never happened in previous competitions. At this time, in a room. Doctor, the radio waves have begun to be released. At present, the situation is good. A total of 15 Gyarados have evolved. A person reported to the faintly glowing computer screen in front of him in the dark. Very good. It seems that there is nothing wrong with the direction of the experiment. Continue to increase the frequency of the radio waves. I want to see more experimental results in the next hour. On the screen, a person in a white robe explained. Yes, doctor. The person in black answered respectfully. Well, continue to report to me in an hour. The screen went dark. The man in black dialed another number. Doctor's instructions. Increase the frequency of the radio waves. Received. The person on the other side immediately began to operate, and the silent radio waves gradually spread. No. Very wrong. Tetsuya's face was serious. Another hour has passed, and the frequency of Gyarados appearing is getting faster and faster. At this time, 8 Gyarados have appeared in the number 3 fishing ground. This is too unreasonable. In this situation, the fishing competition can no longer continue. Every time a Gyarados appears, the waves it brings will prevent people from fishing. The organizer responded quickly and immediately asked the referee to issue a notice. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for the monthly ticket. I want everything! Exclamation mark. Thanks to 196 for the 100 starting coins reward. Thanks to the book friend 202002232244 for the 100 starting coins. Thanks to the earphone, share your piece for the 100 starting coins. Thanks to the Habibit for the 500 starting coins. Chapter 113, Crack. I'm sorry, everyone. Due to reasons visible to the naked eye, considering the safety of all the contestants, our competition may not be able to proceed for the time being. Rear Fishing Ground would like to apologize to all the contestants. After that, you can go to our ticket office with the 3 capture balls you received to exchange for ridiculous compensation. We will also make a notice on the official website later on the specific situation. The referee apologized to all the people, including Tetsuya, and signaled to leave. Everyone picked up their equipment and prepared to leave tacitly. No one is a fool. There is definitely a problem with so many Magikarp evolving into Gyarados. There must be someone behind the scenes. You must know that Gyarados has a very vicious personality. No one is willing to risk their lives to continue fishing here. As for this situation, it may also be caused by the fact that Rear Fishing Ground has some way to make Magikarp evolve, but even if there is, it is impossible to use it to destroy their own place at this time. And this is also a slap in the face of the Vermilion Gym. It is still that dark room, revealing a faint light. Doctor, the experiment was extremely successful. In 2 hours, 44 Gyarados have evolved successfully. The man in black reported to the doctor in the video in an almost fanatical tone. Very good. Is there any movement in Vermilion City now? The other party was also excited for a moment, and then immediately remained calm and asked carefully. The Leia fishing ground has stopped the competition, and is investigating the cause, but it should be a while. Bang. Hold your head with both hands and squat. Before the man in black finished speaking, the door of the room was kicked open. Junsha's voice sounded, go. Woof. A majestic wind speed dog flew in, and pressed the man in black to the ground. The fiery red body, coupled with the flowing hair, was very handsome. With one claw, he opened the hand of the man in black who wanted to take out the Pokeball, and the high temperature made the man in black sweat crazily on his forehead. The series of actions were clean and neat, and it took less than 2 seconds. Drive Zinula, it's been a long time since we last met. The team leader Junsha walked to the computer and greeted the doctor in the video with gritted teeth. Haha, isn't this our Captain Junsha from Vermilion City? The doctor in the video didn't look scared at all. He smiled and greeted her, revealing his true face. He had a bowl-cut haircut, small glasses, a tuft of beard on his chin, and a big red R on his clothes. It was Dr. Zinula from the Rockets. HMPH, I advise you to surrender to the Alliance as soon as possible and stop working for the Rockets. Dr. Zinula listened to Junsha's words and showed a half smile. Ms. Junsha, you are really a joker, but I advise you to solve this trouble first. I'm looking forward to your performance. After that, he hung up the video without any hesitation. Damn bastard. Junsha kicked the table angrily. Hahaha, you are too late. Countless Gyarados will destroy this place. You are too late. The man in black who was pinned down by Arcanine made a fanatical voice. Junsha looked at him with disdain. Another fool who was brainwashed by Team Rocket. The other Junsha handcuffed the man in black tacitly, blocked his chattering mouth, and escorted him out of the room. Captain Eyeing, the Rocket team at the radio station was also caught, but he finally installed some software on the radio, and we can't crack it. Oh no. Captain Eyeing, the Magikarp in the lake outside is starting to go crazy, and many of them have evolved into Gyarados. 2 voices came from the headphones almost one after the other. Captain Junsha gave instructions with a dark face. Logistics team, contact the Alliance and ask them to send the nearest electronic expert to decipher the software. At the same time, ask whether the owner of Mars Ishi has arrived. Combat team, take your Pokémon to the lake to control the situation, and make sure these Gyarados do not run out of the fishing grounds. Evacuation team, work with the staff of the fishing grounds to evacuate the crowd and avoid casualties. Medical team, work with the Joey family to be ready for treatment at any time. Yes. 4 crisp voices came from the headphones. Junsha rode on her wind speed dog and rushed to the front line quickly. In fact, the easiest way at this time is to destroy the radio station directly. After all, the source is probably from there. After the destruction, there is no need for such troublesome work. However, for this situation, the Alliance still has regulations, and it is necessary to try its best to ensure that some of the opponent's technological means are not violently destroyed, and let the experts of the Alliance decipher it to prepare for the next emergency. Therefore, the violent demolition method can only be thought of unless the situation is really extremely bad and cannot be controlled. Then it can be directly demolished. Back to Zaya. A group of contestants were evacuating. Not long after they ran out of the fishing spot, they heard a deafening roar from behind. Roar. Everyone subconsciously covered their ears, ran out faster, and looked behind them. They saw 1, 2, 3. As the white light in the center of the lake continued to emerge, more than a dozen Gyarados emerged from the water and screamed to the sky. The blood-red pupils were surrounded by the white part of the eyes, which should have been white, and were also covered with red blood. ZHE, who had excellent eyesight, was also secretly shocked. This must be someone's trick. Even if Gyarados had a bad temper, it would not be like this after it evolved. The others were even more terrified and fled frantically. Hurry, go to the exit. The referee and the trainer in charge of security were also sweating. 1 Gyarados was okay, but so many Gyarados would really be a matter of life and death. Behind them, more than a dozen Gyarados were spinning their bodies crazily, and towering water tornadoes stood above the lake. The sky became obviously darker. Fortunately, they evacuated early and soon arrived at a safer area. At this time, the contestants from the number 1 and number 2 fishing grounds, which were closer to the exit, had also arrived. Everyone gathered together, looking at the rampaging figure of Gyarados in the distance, and communicating frantically. Obviously, you can see that there are many people and elves fighting with Gyarados in front. Even at such a distance, people can hear the sound of skill collision more clearly. A Junsha came out. Which trainer elves here are elite level? The number of Gyarados is increasing. We need your help. Miss Junsha's tone was very polite when she said she was helping, but no one thought they could escape from such a thing. Although Junsha will not force you to do anything, the regulations of the Alliance stipulate that every citizen of the Alliance has the obligation to help as much as possible in such a situation. Of course, you can choose not to help, but your identity is not unregistered, and various things in the future will inevitably cause trouble. Even if there is really a situation where the elves attack the city or the black organization attacks the city, you will be forcibly requisitioned. There are very few elite trainers, but there are always more elite Pokémon, not to mention that there are so many contestants here. With the statistics and gathering, more than 60 trainers with elite Pokémon were divided into 4 groups and set off for 4 fishing grounds. Tetsuya was of course among them, and he was assigned to the group of the 4th fishing ground. The group hurried to the lake under the leadership of a Junsha. Then I'll leave it to you. Miss Junsha, who led the way, saluted them and then left. She was mainly responsible for something other than fighting. Please release your Pokémon and start fighting against these Gyarados in front of you. Be sure not to accidentally hurt your teammates. Another Junsha, who should be the captain, gave some instructions and then hurriedly commanded her Pokémon to start fighting. Go. Butterfree. Come out and fight. Magneto 3-in-1. Naughty Thunder Bomb. Charge. The trainers released their own Pokémon. Fortunately, this is Vermilion City. Most of the people here have captured electric type Pokémon, so there is no need to say much about the restraint of water and flying Gyarados. ZHE also quietly released his Pidgeot and Blaziken, and as for the Mantle Rock, forget it. Even so, the 2 huge Pokémon also attracted the attention of many trainers. Many people showed envy. This is the 3 starter Pokémons. But this is not the time to be absent, and their combat experience is not that of a rookie. They quickly restrained their mood and began to command the Pokémon to resist. 100,000 volts. Paralysis powder. Thunder. Each Pokémon showed their magical powers, and many long-range skills went towards the group of Gyarados on the lake. As for whether they would hit their teammates, don't be ridiculous. Who would go into close combat with this group of Gyarados? Are you looking for death? Didn't you see that Junsha and others only commanded the Pokémon to resist from a distance? There is basically no possibility of accidental injury when releasing skills from a distance, unless it is an insider. One skill after another collided with the attack of Gyarados, making a huge roar. At the beginning, the trainer and Junsha had the upper hand, and many Gyarados were repelled and lost their ability to fight. After all, the newly evolved Gyarados was still slightly lacking in strength. If it weren't for the advantage in numbers and the inexplicable desperate momentum, it would have been cleared out long ago. But as time passed, the number of Gyarados not only did not decrease, but increased. People gradually felt that something was wrong. Tetsuya commanded Pidgeot to use Tornado and Blaziken to use Heat Wind, defeating several oncoming water cannons, and walking to Miss Junsha. Miss Junsha, I'm Tetsuya Tamaki from the Nabi Gym. May I ask if the Alliance has not solved the source problem yet? He asked loudly. There was no way. The voice was too soft to be heard, and the surroundings were in chaos, with the sound of skill explosions and the cries of Pokémon. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for the monthly ticket. I want everything! Exclamation mark. Thanks to the Poison Aliwenayal for the 100 starting coins. Thanks to my Wi-Fi Algae Shiki for the 100 starting coins. Thanks for the 100 Kidian coins that have been saved in the name PS, because I said before that milestones and so on will also be added. So, it's getting more and more. But at least it's less than the end of last month. Funny. Chapter 114. The Aftermath. Almost done. The decoding in the back is almost done, and the gym leader Masashi has solved the first 3 locations, and will be here soon. Junsha answered Tetsua's question loudly. Originally, she shouldn't tell ordinary trainers about the progress, to prevent the emergence of internal traitors. But after all, Tetsuya is also a member of the Nabi gym, and the scene also needs to stabilize the morale of the troops. She hesitated for a moment, and chose to tell him. Moreover, the overall situation has been decided, and basically no mistakes will be made. The people around also heard this answer to some extent, and their anxious mood settled down a little. Not long after, a disc-shaped spirit similar to a UFO carrying a man flew over quickly. Raichu, Thunder, Yukio very strangely, in the midst of the noise, everyone heard the voice of this command in the cry of Raichu. An electric rat with a dark orange body and a white belly jumped down from the air, and then stayed in the air, as if violating the law of gravity, emitting a dazzling yellow light all over its body. Accompanied by loud noises, the yellow light of the thunder skill swept across the entire lake at a speed that was almost unobservable to the naked eye. Originally, the place was filled with the roar of Gyarados, but suddenly, it fell into silence. Only a few of the Pokémons of the Alliance trainers were still trying to attack, but they soon stopped in confusion, because at this time, there was no trace of the enemy Gyarados on the lake. Everyone was shocked. Is this the strength of the Pokémons of the king level trainers? ZHE was also extremely surprised. Pokémons with such power really exceeded his imagination. You know, when watching the video of the same level battle, you can't see the strength of these Pokémons. You just think they fight very gorgeously. But when the gap in strength was placed in front of him, he realized that the Pokémons in this world can really be exaggeratedly strong, which is completely different from what the animations in the previous life show. You know, these Gyarados have nearly 30 trainers who have been resisting, and some are even at a disadvantage. Raichu's Thunder can almost wipe out the opponents without any effort. ZHE was a little confused. Is the king level so strong? This is also the first time he has seen the king level take action on the spot. The UFO-shaped self-destructing Magneto carried Masashi and slowly landed, and Raichu also landed on the ground. After explaining to the leader Miss Junsha, he announced to everyone that the crisis had been resolved and everyone could leave after confirming their identities. As for this incident, the Alliance will make a detailed explanation later. Everyone also stayed where they were, waiting to leave. Masashi walked to Zaya's side. Boy, we meet again. Hello, Gym Master Masashi. Zaya was still immersed in the scene just now and greeted him woodenly. Masashi chuckled. Of course, he knew why Zaya had this reaction. He was like this when he first saw the king spirit. Okay, don't think about it. With your and your spirit's talents, you will have this strength sooner or later. Then you will know why it is so strong. Masashi patted Zaya on the shoulder, indicating that he should not think too much. Tetsuya nodded slightly, and he gradually calmed down. Although the opponent was too strong, as Masashi said, he also had full confidence and trust in himself and his Pokémon. In other words, will I be so strong in the future, or even stronger? Tetsuya's eyes gradually became hot, as if a flame was burning. Very good, this is the state we want. Masashi patted Tetsuya's shoulder again with satisfaction. Trainers should have an unremitting pursuit of strength, even if he is still like this now. Come on. I'll leave first. Masashi just happened to see this junior coming to see him. He still has a lot of work to do afterwards. After a few simple words, he took Raichu and stepped on Magneto's back. Magneto slowly rose into the air and soon disappeared from sight. After the identity confirmation was completed, all the trainers present had no problems, so they left, and Tetsuya also returned to the Pokémon Center, a private house in Vermilion City. In front of a slightly glowing computer screen, a person was reporting to the computer. Boss, Dr. Silanu's radio wave experiment has been carried out, and the reaction from the Alliance is not small. Yeah. In the video, the man sitting with his back to the screen replied in a low voice, stroking the milky white cat elf beside him. After a period of silence, let Silanu go to the base in Kaju Town to continue research. Now is not the time to face the Alliance head on. How is the thing I asked you to do? The man asked casually. Sorry, boss. The other party refused angrily after the contact. The black-clothed man with the letter R on his clothes also lowered his head nervously. Oh, it doesn't matter, it's just to plant a seed, and the man was not angry, but muttered to himself with a smile, and the following words were even harder to hear. Next, you go to Jinhuang City, first go. The black-clothed man listened respectfully to the instructions of the man in the video. In the backyard of the Dead Leaf Gym, Feng Linai's grandfather, the previous leader of the Withered Leaf Gym and Marzish's master, Feng Linwen was drinking tea and listening to Marzish's story. Team Rocket? Feng Linwen muttered to himself. HMPH, these little reptiles actually dared to come to me. They are just clowns in the dark. Marzishi was still angry. You know, at this time, Team Rocket was far from as powerful as they're imagined later. Most people thought it was just an ordinary underworld organization. Get ready, Feng Linwen said leisurely. Mazishi looked at his master in confusion. The alliance will react, just be ready. Feng Linwen drank tea and squinted his eyes to rest on the recliner. Yes. Mazishi nodded slightly. His master always saw more than he did. You still have to use your brain occasionally. Don't think about getting stronger all day long. Quartz Plateau, Kanto Alliance headquarters. I told you that when the female boss passed on the throne, she should have completely killed Team Rocket. Oh, that sounds good. I don't remember you saying that at the time. Okay, now that it's like this, the existence of Team Rocket is not without benefits to the Alliance. Benefits are benefits, but this time it's over. We must warn them. Yes, we need to warn them. The other party has had contact with Marzishi of the Dead Leaf Gym. What do you think? They should want to recruit him. After all, judging from his resume, this guy is a person who pursues strength to the extreme. Can he be trusted? Why don't we do this? ZHE also lay flat on the bed to rest. This sudden accident made him feel more or less tired. What he didn't know was that the aftermath of this incident was far from over. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for the monthly ticket. I want everything! Exclamation mark. Thank you Wooks and Zengfeng for the 100 starting coins. Thank you for telling you that you missed the reward of 100 starting coins. PS. The world view is definitely not a simple special episode or comic, so don't force it when reading. It's still a long time before these things happen, so it's just a simple foreshadowing, and the main focus is still on adventure and cultivation. After all, it's somewhat uncomfortable to write about this kind of strategy. Chapter 115. Continue the adventure. The day after the Gyarados incident, ZHE was eating breakfast in the restaurant of the Pokémon Center, looking at the latest report issued by the league. The whole thing was done by Team Rocket, which was not unexpected. Because a long time ago, there were many dark organizations active in the Kanto region, but in recent years, Team Rocket has a tendency to dominate, and other organizations have gradually disappeared. As for where they went, it goes without saying. Basically, many things were caused by Team Rocket, but most of the time they would not hurt civilians. Even this time, there were basically no casualties. This is also good news for some people. At least Team Rocket will not kill innocent people. There are many rumors that this is because the current boss of Team Rocket is a champion who is terribly strong and has a high degree of internal constraints. Of course, most people disdain this and treat it as a joke. Are you kidding, champion? Do you think Magikarp can be seen everywhere? It's good to be a king, and what morality can the Dark Organization talk to you about? Only Tetsuya was thinking silently in his heart. Boss Sakaki is a champion. This is too reasonable. After all, he is also a cheater. Let's not talk about other things for now. Just the gift of Evergreen Forest. The Evergreen power is already an exaggerated existence. Continue to read the report of the Alliance. The root cause of the Rocket Team's induction of a large number of Magikarp evolutions this time is a strange technological means, which is not detailed in the specific report. It only explains that the Gyarados that forcibly evolves in this way not only loses its potential and strength, but also appears to be abnormally manic and irritable, and extremely aggressive. Moreover, their life energy, that is, lifespan, is far shorter than that of their peers after testing. The following is the league's strong condemnation of the Rocket team's related behavior and demanding that they immediately hand over the person in charge of this action. Tetsuya glanced at it and didn't read it. Everyone just said it. If you ask him to hand it over, he will hand it over. How embarrassing. The knife and fork subconsciously poked the meat. Technological means, the electric wave of the red Gyarados. Although he didn't see too many Pokémon in his previous life, he still had some understanding of some basic plots. Recalling the appearance of the Gyarados yesterday, it was indeed extremely angry, and that I was quite abnormal. But then again, why did Team Rocket conduct experiments here? Tetsuya pondered. Generally speaking, doing such a thing in a big city like Vermilion City, even if there were no casualties, is tantamount to pulling teeth from the mouth of the Alliance and rubbing salt into its wounds. It was almost like going to the Quartz Plateau to slap the top leaders of the Alliance in person. Anyone with a normal brain would not choose to do this, let alone a villain with an online IQ like Team Rocket. You can do the Magikarp evolution experiment anywhere. Just find a bunch of Magikarp in a wild river. So the purpose is Masashi. This is the only thing Tetsuya can think of. According to the definition of the spirit world in the previous life, Masashi is one of the 4 cadres in Team Rocket in some versions. But he remembered that according to this version, Masashi should have been the captain of the Saint Anu, not the Air Force Major. Besides, what he knew about Masashi was that he had a strong sense of justice and hated the Dark Organization very much, so it was even more impossible for him to join. So it was very strange, and how could it be possible for Masashi to be won over without being discovered by the Alliance? What was the point of just this little commotion? It was really chaotic. Zaya frowned and thought. This was also a very normal thing. After all, the world he lived in was a real world, and it was impossible to say that it was exactly the same as the memory of his previous life. At least according to his understanding, the 4 heavenly kings of Kanto in this world would not think of destroying the world. There was no need to worry that the Kanto Alliance was actually full of Team Rocket people and turned into a shield. He shook his head and didn't think about it. According to his current strength, even if he thought clearly and squeezed in, it would be a dead end. This was not something that Zaya could get involved in at the moment. If the sky fell, there would naturally be tall people to support it. When he became as strong as a champion, many problems would no longer be problems. After quickly finishing breakfast, Zaya walked out of the Pokémon Center quickly. After he left Vermilion City, commercial information began to play on the television in the Elf Center, and the host was speaking clearly. According to the latest news, Rocket Group, a large multi-regional company, is about to go public. Their chairman, Sakaki, said that the name of Rocket Group implies that their company will develop extremely rapidly and will bring better benefits to the majority of their employees. It is reported that Chairman Sakaki himself is also a very powerful trainer. He is the gym leader of our Kanto Alliance's Tokiwa Gym. He is extremely good at cultivating ground-type elves and is known as Sakaki of the Earth. Chairman Sakaki said that in the next 10 years, Rocket Group will build more orphanages in various cities to provide better social welfare for children who have lost their loved ones. Regarding the rumors that the name of the group is similar to the Rocket Team, a dark organization that has been active in recent years, Chairman Sakaki said that Rocket Group has nothing to do with the Rocket Team and hates the Rocket Team's destruction of the stable life of the Alliance. The Rocket Group was founded before the Rocket Team appeared. He is personally very dissatisfied with the existence of such a dark organization and hopes that the Alliance will immediately crack down on it. If necessary, Rocket Group is very happy to provide logistical support. For some people who spread rumors, Rocket Group also reserves the right to file a case with the Junsha family and the Alliance Court. Next, there is the recruitment information of Rocket Group. Chairman Sakaki welcomes all talents to join. Dangoro. Mantle Rock shouted calmly, and rocks condensed one after another, and flew quickly to the opposite side. Bobo, the speed of the elves on the opposite side was extremely slow, and there was no way to dodge. They had to stretch out 2 vine whips from the leaves on both sides of their bodies while being hit, and hit Mantle Rock hard. Mantle Rock did not fluctuate at all after being hit. It was such a weak grass type attack. Even if it was attribute restraint, it didn't feel much. Power Gem. With Tetsuya's command, the energy crystals on Mantle Rock's body began to emit white light, and then a series of gem-like shining lights shot out from the crystals. Boom boom boom. After a roar, the elves on the opposite side fell to the ground. Well done, Mantle Rock. Tetsuya praised it. Then I came to the trumpet-shaped flower-shaped elf, and collected the tail hook on its head. This is the mouth smooth flower. The tail hook is the storage area of its poison powder, which has a fairly good value. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for it. I want anything! Exclamation mark. Thank you Heima Nagatari for the 100 starting coins. Thank you for the 100 starting coins for the saved reward character Sharona of this name. Thank you for the 100 starting coins for the reward from TB Kangxiang. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116, Green. Turquoise? After putting the collected materials into a box specially used for storage in different categories, Zay left the place with the Mantle Rock. Behind him was a flame chicken walking with its eyes closed. The Smurf behind him woke up not long after the group and the elves left, and fled like a fly. The disappearance of the tail hook was not a big deal for it. Smurfs like to hang on the branches with the hook on their buttocks to sleep at night, but their sleeping posture is abnormally bad, and they often fall off. Occasionally, the tail hook will fall off. For grass-type elves, it is still a relatively simple thing to recover with natural photosynthesis. However, the poison powder needs to continue to accumulate by itself. What is more fortunate is that Smurfs does not use poison powder when hunting. They prefer to use paralysis powder and dissolving liquid to catch prey. This means that it does not need to starve to survive these few days and will not fall into a weak state. One person and two pets continued to move forward in the forest. From time to time, elves would suddenly appear and attack them. For these elves, ZHE also chose to let Demon Yan deal with them, collect the useful materials from them, and then ignore them. The main reason is that Demon Yan's combat experience has to gradually improve. First, he will practice by beating up the weak ones, and then evolve into a giant rock monster. It is not enough to have strength alone. Otherwise, for these grass-type and insect-type elves, with the strength of Flame Chicken, they will be gone with a mouthful of fire. As for whether there will be any forest fires or mountain fires, you can rest assured that there will be no such thing. The plants in this world have high resistance to various aspects and extremely strong vitality. It can be said that they have maximumed out their skill points in this regard. It may be caused by the energy emitted by the elves themselves. It may also be because those plants that cannot withstand destruction have been eliminated in the long-term evolution. Unless your flames are really continuous, at most it will cause a small number of plants in a small area to burn, and they will soon go out. This is why, except for a few areas where humans live, most of the wilderness is densely covered with plants. Even near the city, there are many people responsible for cleaning up these crazy growing plants. If it weren't for the fact that some Pokémon in the wild have a big appetite and consume a lot of plants, it is estimated that the living space of humans will be further compressed. Walking to a stream, ZHE also looked at the surrounding environment. Dangoro. Is there no danger? Then rest here for a while and have lunch. As he said that, he found a flat ground and took out kitchen utensils and tableau from his backpack to prepare to cook. Beep. The loud bird call sounded in the air, and the powerful momentum caused many Pokémon to flee in panic. The movement was very obvious. ZHE also blew a whistle and called back the Pidgeot in the air. This guy is too reckless. Although according to the map of the Alliance, there are no powerful Pokémon living nearby, it is not a good thing for you to call him like that. Beep Dao. The Pidgeot flying in the air heard the call of his trainer and flew down quickly, as if holding something in his claws. Boss, look, I found a strange guy. Pidgeot expressed his excitement to Tetsuya. Before landing, he naturally loosened his claws and dropped the prey on the ground. The hunting action was done in one go. In the previous life, when the eagle caught a rabbit, it seemed to have dropped the prey to death before bringing it back to the nest. The only difference here is that Pidgeot is not catching a rabbit, but an elf, and it is not so easy to be dropped to death. Strange? How strange is it? Tetsuya asked casually while making lunch carelessly without even looking over there. Originally, when Pidgeot did this for the first time, he was still very excited. What if Pidgeot brought back something valuable? This is more or less a way to make money, and his child can make money. However, as the number of times increased, the strange things that Pidgeot brought back were really strange, such as branches that looked like snakes, stones that looked like Bobo, etc. In short, they were useless things. If it weren't for Pidgeot's feelings, Tetsuya said that he really didn't want to see those things. There is no other way. I can only pamper my own elves. It doesn't matter if they are a little silly. A weak and frightened voice sounded. They raised his head in confusion. He was very familiar with this voice, but weren't the mantle rocks on guard? How could an elf under the vicinity? Then he saw his 3 elves gathered in a circle, and in the middle of the circle was a mouse-like elf shivering. It had 2 big front teeth and ears, a long cream-colored beard on its cheeks, and a slightly curled tail. This is one of the most common elves, the Rattata, but the Rattata in front of him is very interesting. They put down the kitchen utensils, came to the 3 elves, and observed the Rattata. Pidgeot, is this the weird thing you said? Beep. Yes, it is this thing. It looks green and green, like a Rattata, but I have never seen such a thing before. It is normal not to have seen it, because this is a shiny heterochromatic Rattata. Pidgeot tilted his head, which means it is still a Rattata, and immediately lost interest. With a snap of his fingers, Flame Chicken was very good at knocking out Rattata. Tetsuya threw a Pokeball and the heterochromatic Rattata was captured. The so-called shining heterochromatic refers to Pokémon with special colors due to individual differences and environmental influences, just like the white tiger in the previous life. This heterochromatic color does not completely represent the outstanding potential of the individual. For example, the Rattata he just captured was only of ordinary potential after being detected by Zero. Of course, there are also those elves with heterochromatic colors and outstanding qualifications, but he has never seen them. Such things can only be thought of in dreams. Because of their heterochromatic colors, they are often driven out of the tribe to live alone, and their strength will naturally be tempered and become stronger. However, the heterochromatic color of this Rattata is turquoise or green, which is different from the purple of ordinary Rattata. It is still very helpful for hiding the body, so its strength is also average. Anyway, for Pidgeot and the others, they are all pitifully weak, so they can't see anything. According to statistics, the probability of heterochromatic elves appearing is about 1 in 100,000, which is pitifully small, so the value is still quite high. But ZHE hesitated. If it was any other Pokémon, he might just sell it, but Rattata was different. He sighed and let it go. Luckily you met me. I'll find you a job that gives you free food and drink. He muttered to himself to the Pokeball of the heterochromatic Rattata. Then he quickly sent a message through his watch. Please invest, please collect, please recommend, please vote for the monthly ticket. I want anything. Thank you for the 100 starting coins from Monster Binguari. Thank you for the 100 starting coins from Silver Moon Howling Wolf. Thank you for the 100 starting coins from I'm Not Called Leo Tao. PS. There will be no additional chapters during this period, so you can just read it directly. I still owe 7 standard chapters, the kind that costs 2,000 per chapter. I stayed up late to write this, so there might be some problems. I'll take a look when I wake up. Chapter 117 Secret Cave. Well, Oklahoma, thank you, Dr. Yamanashi. Tetsuya said politely into the phone. It's okay, it just so happens that a research team under me has a new topic recently. They are going to study the probability of hatching different colored Pokémon under different parents. But different colored Pokémon are so rare and precious, the number of samples is really not enough, not to mention the species. They have to thank you very much for the little Rattata you provided. Dr. Yamanashi on the other end of the phone said with a smile. The doctor happened to be eating at the moment, so after seeing Tetsuya's message, he quickly contacted him. Okay, then let's do it. When the time comes, you just need to teleport the little Rattata over, and we will take good care of it here. After a few hurried conversations, Dr. Yamanashi hung up the phone. Anyway, he is now more and more optimistic about this little guy. He has a good personality, high talent, and a good heart. Find time to ask those guys for him. Dr. Yamanashi thought so, turned around and devoted himself to the busy research work. Dr. Oak has been giving science lectures recently. He has to do a lot of work in person, so he can't relax. Done. In the forest, Tetsuya also breathed a sigh of relief after hanging up the phone. A different colored Pokémon is a symbol of your wealth and ability, and many rich people are flocking to it. Little Rattata is also more suitable for breeding. It is more or less cute with the stone, but it may not be the case if it is a different colored stinky mud. However, some dark organizations often believe that different colored Pokémons have powers different from ordinary Pokémons, and they will use them for inhumane experiments, which is not very wonderful. So in order to avoid this situation, after being sold to the black market, he still needs to find a better place for this little Rattata. According to Dr. Yamanashi, its life should be quite good in the future. Okay, everyone, relax for a while and start eating lunch. Tetsuya clapped his hands subconsciously and called the 3 Pokémons. Swish, swish, swish. The flame chicken, who had been waiting on the side, took the plate at a fast speed, sat on the ground, and started eating immediately. At the same time, he did not forget to put the plates in front of Mantle Rock and Pidgeot. Zay patted its head helplessly. Good guy, you are really competent as a dry rice chicken. Then he slowly made lunch for himself. The next destination is Rainbow City, which is one of the top 2 cities in Kanto. The most famous are its Rainbow Game City and Rainbow Department Store. He has been thinking about spending some time there for a long time. But before that, he has to go to Lavender Town first. Zay thought about his next route. Golden City is sandwiched between Lavender Town and Rainbow City. It would be more convenient to go there first, but considering the challenge order and difficulty of his own gym, Golden City was postponed. He was thinking about things in his mind, but his hands did not slow down at all. He quickly made lunch and finished it. After washing the dishes as usual, he asked Flame Chicken to disinfect and dry them. After putting away all the things, Zay prepared to continue his journey. It was still a bit rushed to go to Rainbow City after Lavender Town. One afternoon was barely enough. Not far away, Daganayan touched Tetsuya's body and called out, "Dangoro. Did you find anything?" Tetsuya asked Daganayan. Daganayan shook his body slightly and used the gravity skill to move a large rock in front of him. A huge cave appeared on the ground in front of Tetsuya. It should be dug by Pokémon like Diglett or Diglett. Tetsuya quickly made a judgment. These 2 Pokémon are the most common hole diggers. You can see their figures in the caves they left in every corner of the forest. But this one is indeed a bit too hidden. That is to say, Pokémon like Daganayan have extremely sensitive perception of the ground, so they can find it. Dangoro. Well, is there anything under there? Let's go in and take a look. Tetsuya hesitated for a moment and made a decision quickly. He believed in the strength and judgment of his Pokémon. Besides, isn't the purpose of trainers exploring in the wild to constantly explore these unknown places? If you encounter such a place and don't go in, wouldn't it be too sorry for yourself? The adventure factor in your body is ready to move. Of course, going down must be done in a proper way, and you can't just go straight down like that. ZHE also put Pidgeot back into the Pokeball. It's definitely not suitable for it to perform underground. Blazer, I leave it to you. Mantle Rock, you control the sand and rocks in the back. The 2 Pokémon nodded slightly. It's a bit strange to say, Pokémon like Mantle Rock live underground, and as a rock-type Pokémon, it should be normal for it to learn to dig holes from the ground. But unfortunately, according to research, Pokémon like Mantle Rock can't dig holes. The way they live and move forward underground is to rely solely on their ability to master rocks and sand to slowly open up a path. On the contrary, Blaziken can learn the skill of digging holes. However, with the cooperation of the 2, the efficiency is also abnormally fast. Blaziken's claws are frantically digging holes downwards, and Mantle Rock is responsible for filling the extra sand and rocks around, making the inclination of the entire cave no longer so exaggerated. If he didn't do this, ZHE would probably have to slide down like a slide. Let's not talk about whether there is any danger below. According to the mantle rock, the bottom is still a distance from the ground. If you slide down like this, even if you are as strong as Tetsuya, you will fall hard. Tetsuya put on the mask of the expedition suit and began to walk down carefully behind the two elves. The rocks above were moved back to their original places by the mantle rock without knowing it, covering the entrance of the cave. There is no need to worry about the problem of oxygen underground. These caves are connected in all directions. With the efforts of the elves, the underground is equivalent to a relatively small and complete ecosystem. When they came to the bottom of the cave, Tetsuya and Blaziken, who could only walk with their backs bent, stood up. "What a big underground cave," Tetsuya exclaimed, wearing night vision goggles. "The height of this cave is at least 3 or 4 meters, and the width is enough for 3 or 4 people to pass. The ecology of the elves is really wonderful. This place is probably the masterpiece of Onyx." Dangoro. The dull voice of the mantle rock echoed underground. Blaziken came to Tetsuya and carefully protected him. Under the guidance of Demon Yan, he came to a passage after many twists and turns. ZHE pointed to the rock wall at the end of the cave and asked Demon Yan, "Are you saying there is something behind this?" Dangoro. Demon Yan agreed. ZHE was also very curious. If Demon Yan could sense it, other elves should be able to sense it, so why is there still a rock wall here? Are you saying you can't control the rocks here? After listening to Demon Yan's narration, ZHE became more interested. "Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for the monthly ticket. I want everything!" Exclamation mark. Thank you Fenglinian for the 100 starting coins. Thank you Bookfriend 202002232244298999 for the 100 starting coins. Thank you Bookfriend 2020081417552051 for the 100 starting coins. Thank you Bookfriend 140,525,184,845,202 for the 100 starting coins. Thanks to the sister loving demon Zaozhazu for the 100 Kidian coins. PS. I misread the time. I lost my mind. Chapter 118 Mural. Dong Dong Zaya knocked on the rock wall. The sound he heard confirmed that the back should be hollow. Then let Blaziken force it open. Zaya hesitated. "No, first of all, it is very dangerous to carry out blasting operations in such an underground cave. If a landslide occurs, he will not be able to escape in time. He does not understand such professional knowledge. And the noise will attract other Pokémon. No matter how hard you think about it, such a place cannot be opened with just a punch." Thinking of this, he subconsciously punched the center of the rock wall. Hula la as he moved. Suddenly, a big hole collapsed under his feet. "Fuck it." Before Zaya could react, he fell down. "Blazer." As Zaya called, Blaziken's fiery red figure quickly jumped left and right along the rock wall of the cave and came down. Down. Blaziken grabbed Zaya, lifted his whole body with his claws, and held him in his arms like a princess. His feet rubbed against the rock wall frantically, and with a little force, Flame Chicken jumped up. In just a moment, the man in the pet returned to the land. He hooked Flame Chicken's neck with one hand, patted it, and signaled to put him down. With a trembling heart, ZHE also felt that his legs were shaking constantly. It was too exciting. At the same time, he secretly hated his own hands. Why did he find nothing to do and hammer the rock wall? Boom. A slight vibration sounded. In front of him, the big hole that had just appeared on the ground suddenly closed again. ZHE's face was uncertain. Is this a mechanism? Judging from its rough appearance, it should be left by the ancients a long time ago, not a modern product. Flame Chicken used the least powerful spark on the middle of the rock wall. He squinted his eyes and instructed Flame Chicken while retreating with the mantle rock. Physical attacks will activate the mechanism, but what about energy attacks? Flame Chicken nodded slightly, and a tiny bright spark spit out of its mouth, swaying towards the middle of the rock wall. The expected collision sound did not occur. When the sparks touched the rock wall suddenly emitted a yellowish brown light, absorbing the flame energy. ZHE almost cursed. This is the world of elves. What fantasy are you playing here? He has read many records related to the exploration of historical relics, but he has never seen such a mechanism. He frowned. Direct physical attack is not good, and energy attack is not good. How can he get the thing behind? As for giving up, what a joke. The arrangement of this mechanism means that the value of the thing behind is definitely very high. If it is an ordinary thing, there will be no such unheard of setting. Flame chicken, continuous spark attack, gradually increase the power. While thinking, ZHE first let flame chicken attack the rock wall, constantly testing its defense limit. Next, flame chicken responded, and then a continuous stream of sparks hit the rock wall. The yellowish brown light seemed to be setting off fireworks, constantly flickering in the dark cave. After nearly 3 minutes of continuous spark attacks, flame chicken had to stop and take a short break. Even with its ability, it was very tiring for the Pokémon to control the power and continue to output. Well, it works. So how does it replenish its defense? ZHE also narrowed his eyes and keenly noticed that under the continuous attack for 3 minutes, the light emitted by the rock wall had dimmed a little. As he expected, this defense method is essentially the mutual cancellation of energy. And judging from the strength of the skill flame chicken just used, it did not cause damage to the overall structure of the cave. Mantle rock collapse, one piece will do. Let flame chicken rest for a while. ZHE also began to command mantle rock to continue attacking the rock wall to verify his next conjecture. The rock used by Mantle Rock's rock collapse encountered a stone wall without triggering the mechanism, nor was it cancelled like the sparks, but silently, a whole piece of rock was integrated into it. Nodding slightly, so the way to replenish its own energy should be the rock type or ground type attack. No wonder no Pokémon Underground has been able to open this place for so long. After all, most Pokémon of other attributes live on the ground. Then, Blaziken, you'll have to work hard next. Zay patted the Blaziken next to him. Blaziken understood. Try to use the jet flame this time. Control the power and slowly increase it. Oh my god. A column of fire that was obviously much smaller than the one in the battle shot out from Blaziken's mouth and hit the rock wall. The khaki light never went out this time. It lasted for more than a minute, and Blaziken stopped panting. This was really tiring for the Pokémon, and it looked at its trainer for help. Boss, I'm almost drained. I can't do it anymore. Zay also felt a little difficult to breathe at this time, and his body was full of sweat. In such a confined space, fire skills are really life-threatening. He had to take Blaziken back outside, rest for more than 10 minutes, and then attack again. This was repeated 7 or 8 times, and 2 hours were almost over. Blaziken was so tired that his feathers drooped down. Dangoro. The cry of Mantle Rock made Blaziken stop immediately. Tetsuya asked, you mean you can control the rock wall to open? Mantle Rock responded. According to its feelings, it should be possible to try. Next, Flame Chicken hurriedly urged it. If it can be opened, open it. If it keeps burning like this, I will almost pass out. Mantle Rock slowly walked to the rock wall and did not move. On his body, the earth yellow energy was constantly vibrating. Dangoro. With Mantle Rock's dull cry, the rock wall slowly opened. Patting Mantle Rock to indicate a good job, Tetsuya took Flame Chicken and stepped carefully behind the rock wall. What came into view was a rock tunnel with obvious traces of artificial construction, and there were pieces of fluorescent stone scattered beside it to provide light. He squatted down and there were silver marks on the ground. He touched it, and it seemed to be silver. Along the direction of the marks, one side was the rock wall when he first entered, and the other side was the interior of the cave. As he walked, Tetsuya observed all the way. There were murals and ancient text records on the walls of the passage. Of course he couldn't understand the words, but the mural was very clear. There were elves painted on it, including a fossilized pterosaur, a sickle helmet, and 2 different fire-breathing dragons. Are they the X and Y forms after Mega's evolution? Zaya thought. Although the Alliance has not yet revealed the existence of Mega, he has learned some related content in his previous life. In addition, there is a elf that he doesn't recognize, which is similar to the Triceratops in his previous life. The mural shows that these 5 elves are fighting a strange-looking elf at the same time. Deoxys? Zaya looked at the mural in front of him with 3 different forms of elves and fell into thought. He was wondering whether to turn around and run. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for the monthly ticket. I want everything! Exclamation mark. Thanks to the book friend 20180820101445674 for the reward of 600 starting coins. Thanks to the dwarf and the mushroom house for the reward of 100 starting coins. Thanks to the balloon crossing the catastrophe flying fairy for the reward of 100 starting coins. Chapter 119 Strange Stone. In his previous life, Tetsuya didn't actually watch many Pokémon animations. He basically watched the plots of the 3 regions of Kanto, Orange Islands, and Chengdu, and occasionally watched the theatrical version. The rest was just hearsay, or watching 1 or 2 episodes of animation. He didn't know much about most of the content after Unova. Deoxys was one of the few mythical Pokémon he knew in his previous life. If he had known that he would travel through time, he would have played the game for several years at least a dozen times. If his memory is correct, Deoxys was mutated from the DNA of a space virus and can use incredible cosmic power to change its form. It looks like an alien and has 4 forms, each focusing on different abilities corresponding to normal, attack, defense, and speed. The elves on the mural in the passage have a body mainly orange-red, a blue-green face, and 3 blue-green dots on their backs. There is a purple stripe running through the face, a crystallized trachea in the chest, and white round eyes in its rectangular black eye sockets. Although one form was missing, he was sure that this thing was Deoxys. That would be extremely dangerous. Who knows if the end of this passage is a sleeping Deoxys in the form of a crystal body. Judging from the destructive power in his memory, this guy's strength is terrifying. It is estimated that he is not enough to fill its teeth now. ZHE also stopped for a moment. After pondering for a while, he gritted his teeth and continued to move forward along the extended route of the plot on the mural. At least thousands or tens of thousands of years had passed. He didn't believe that the elves could survive in such a place for so long. What if it is alive and is just a weak crystal state? If he subdues it, wouldn't it be a direct victory for the championship? The plot on the mural is still continuing. 3 dragon-like elves occupied the sky, while the sickle helmet and the triceratops-like elves were on the ground, attacking and defending against Deoxys. The energy shockwave spit out by the first 3 hit the ground, causing the ground to crack. The sharp sickle of the sickle helmet slashed through Deoxys' body, and the hard stone shield on the face of the unknown elf blocked all Deoxys' attacks from the front. On the mural, the sun and the moon rotated, symbolizing the protracted battle. The final winner was Deoxys, which went deep into the ground, took away something unknown, and then flew away from the air. ZHE was really relieved when he saw this. Fortunately, at least it wouldn't be Deoxys inside. To be honest, he was a little scared. The mural continued. After Deoxys left, another elf appeared that ZHE didn't know. It was black overall, with orange hair and legs. There was half a shell on each of its hands, and the shell was printed with patterns. There was also a picture of this elf. When the shell was closed, it looked like a shining bird's head. At first, this elf was just curious and approached. As the 5 exhausted elves took a defensive posture, it immediately emitted a stream of energy all over its body and knocked down the 5 elves effortless. Zay pursed his lips. Could it be this Pokémon? It looks like an electric type, and its temper is too bad. And it seems to be much stronger than Deoxys. Even though the 5 Pokémons were very tired, the process of defeating it was too easy. Fortunately, after this Pokémon easily defeated the other 5 Pokémons, it left behind a stone-like object and left. The next is a clip of people in ancient times rebuilding their homes. At the end of the mural, it shows that this stone was dug into an underground tunnel by them and placed in a temple-like building. They raised his head. Is this the one in front of him? In front of him is a temple that has collapsed and looks like a ruin. In the center is a stone platform. From his perspective, there is indeed a silver gray stone on the stone platform. Let the mantle rocks and sit first. There is no problem with the ground, and it can be operated normally. Zay walked towards the stone platform carefully. When he got closer, he carefully observed the stone. It is silver gray in color. When it is held vertically, there is a pattern similar to a boomerang on the top. In the center of the stone, a diamond pattern and a Z-shaped pattern overlapped. There were also some different colors distributed below, and yellow occupied most of the area. What is this thing? ZHE was also very curious. He had never seen this thing before. Whether it was the memory of the previous life or the study of this life, there was no record of this stone. It was definitely not the superstone of Mega Evolution. He remembered that it was more like a glass marble. After confirming that there was no danger, he picked up the stone. Although he didn't know what it was used for, it must be a very precious thing. Just looking at the mysterious and powerful elf, it can be seen that it is at least a divine beast type elf, and the things left behind cannot be bad. Putting the stone into the space backpack, ZHE also swept the entire ruined temple again. There was nothing except rocks. As for the defensive device on the rock wall at the entrance, he took a look. The entire silver-filled incision surrounded the stone platform just now, and the middle position was the groove where the stone was placed. It is estimated that it was also made by this stone. The site shows its extraordinariness, so although there is no other gain, he is very satisfied. He directed Flame Chicken and Mantle Rock to destroy the murals of the unknown elves in the second half in the ruins of the temple. After working for an hour, Zay looked at the passage in front of him, which could no longer be seen in its original state, and nodded with satisfaction. Although he did not think of reporting the ruins here to the Alliance immediately after he went out, in order to prevent someone from accidentally breaking in and finding something wrong, necessary cover-ups were still necessary. If no one found it, he would report it to the Alliance after he became stronger. After walking out of this passage, Mantle Rock relied on his excellent perception ability to lead Zay and Flame Chicken to the ground from another cave exit. At this time, it was about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Zay looked at the map, and it was okay. When walking underground, he was also approaching Lavender Town. He took back the 2 tired elves and released Pidgeot. He rode Pidgeot to the entrance of Lavender Town. The whole town was crowded with people, but it was strange and extremely quiet. Occasionally, there was a conversation, but it was also a very small sound. Arriving at the Pokémon Center in Ziyuan Town, he handed the 2 Pokémons to Miss Joy for recovery and opened a room for the day. Zay finally relaxed. The sudden adventure in the afternoon interrupted his plan, and he must have been too late to rush to Rainbow City. Instead of rushing to complete his goal, he might as well take a break first. After all, when breaking the underground wall, not only was Flame Chicken tired, but he also consumed a lot of energy. After thanking Miss Joy, Zay returned to his room with the Pokémons. Lying on the bed, he exhaled deeply. Although it was not the first time he came, the atmosphere was really depressing. He sighed. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for the monthly ticket. I ask for everything! Exclamation mark. Thank Haswak for the 100 starting coins. Thank Bookfriend2017082608304805 for the 100 starting coins. Thanks Stephanie C for the 100 starting coins. Thank Zayasha Chengskyahayogsusa for the 100 starting coins. Thank HeyIngX for the 100 starting coins. Thanks to Earphone for sharing the 100 Kidian coins. P.S. I'm dying of laughter. I may be the first one who starts to explain how much the protagonist knows about the plot only here. Please remind me if there is anything I haven't explained yet. I will finish it while the new book is in progress. Then some readers may wonder why some elves are described very clearly. In fact, it is because many readers, like the protagonist, do not know all the PM, and even their memories are fuzzy. For many people, PM is actually more of a memory. Reading novels is also more convenient than watching animations and movies, and there are many such readers, not to mention the role of related living habits or body structures. Simply posting pictures may not be able to explain, and there is a word limit for comments. It is impossible for you to read the comments while reading the novel. Of course, I will try my best to shorten these descriptions to the simplest few words, and avoid some popular elves appearance introductions, such as Pikachu. It won't be very long. If there is, I will try to control the number of words, because Kidian seems to count 200 words as 1 point, and less than 200 words does not seem to count. I will limit the number of words after the release, to prevent you from suffering. Chapter 120 Sanjiang's speech. I'm on Sanjiang. I think basically no one writes about this, but I have to commemorate it. Since it's my first time writing, I'm not really excited, mainly because I'm a newbie, and I've finished all the recommendations on Gideon for the first time. Funny plus doghead for life. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all the readers who support the author and this novel. When I first wrote this book, it was because I didn't have many elf novels to read, so I uploaded it directly on impulse. Some readers can see from the title and introduction that the author has never thought about that thing at all, so the introduction is extremely weak. The author can only say that if there is a conflict with the official, I will try my best to correct it. If it's really not possible, please ignore it, but you must still follow the book and support the author and this novel. For the specific content, you can see the last PS, and then the highlight is next. The highlight. The highlight. Ahem. Clear your throat. Cracked voice. I must praise my editor Pengley here. He is beautiful, sweet-voiced, and kind. In one word, absolute. If there are readers who really want to write their own novels, please submit them to Gideon Group 9. Please make sure to look for Group 9. Everyone speaks very nicely and is very likable. They are very considerate to newcomers. In fact, I asked Napeng a lot of questions during the new book period, and he/she answered me in detail, helping me a lot in all aspects. So, you understand? Old authors in the author group said that you can still find Napeng for fencing. Don't miss the opportunity. PS. Because there are also thank you notes for the book being put on the shelves, I will put the thanks to all readers there and save some words here. After all, there are a lot of thanks to readers to write. It's so long. Thick fog, including some problems with the previous content. The author will give an explanation. The thank you note for the book being put on the shelves is so long. I'm asking for the first order in advance. It should be on the shelves on the 16th. I'm begging for support. I'm asking for investment, collection, recommendation, and monthly ticket. I'm asking for everything! Exclamation mark. Chapter 121 Zioan Town. Lavender Town is located in the northeast corner of the Kanto region, below the White Cape. It is a famous Pokémon cemetery, and all burial and mourning activities are carried out in the Pokémon Tower in the town. The Pokémon Tower is a 7-story cemetery where the deceased Pokémon rest in peace. There are hundreds of Pokémon tombs in the tower, and many people come to pay tribute every day. So the overall atmosphere is unusually solemn. There are very few residents living in Lavender Town, only about 30, and more than a dozen of them are trainers who voluntarily live here to protect the Pokémon Tower. It is said that the Kanto Alliance recently intends to convert the Pokémon Tower into a receiving tower to broadcast various music and radio programs, including the Pokémon Flute channel to the radios and Pokémon devices in the 2 districts of Kanto. However, the results of the public opinion vote were very poor, and most people could not accept this plan. After having dinner with the 3 elves, Zaya read a book for a while, sighed, and forget it. I really can't read it anymore, so I'll go to bed early today. Turning off the lights, 1 person and 3 pets fell into a quiet sleep. Tetsuya rubbed his head against Pidgeot's belly. The pillow felt really comfortable. The next day, early in the morning, dew fell from the grass by the roadside. Although the weather was a bit foggy, many people could be seen walking around in Cheyenne Town. Tetsuya, with 3 shrunken Pokeballs on his waist, set out from the Pokémon Center in the northwest and headed for the Pokémon Tower in the east of the town. When he arrived at the Pokémon house in the center of the town, like other people passing by, he casually put 10,000 Alliance coins into the donation box at the door. The Pokémon house, also known as the volunteer house, was the name given to his house by an old man named Fuji in order to take in and care for Pokémon that were abandoned or lost their families. The donation box at the door was not placed by the old man himself, but by Miss Joy in the town. After all, it's okay to raise 1 Pokémon. If there are too many, Fuji can't support it financially. People who come here to pay tribute to the Pokémon often contribute their own strength. Of course, most people don't donate much, so they do what they can. The money in the donation box will be taken away by Miss Joy regularly and exchanged for elf food and other things to give to Mr. Fuji. If there are people in the elf world who are completely trustworthy, they are only Joy and Junsha. Continuing to walk, they came to the entrance of the Pokémon Tower. He showed his ID card to the staff at the door for registration, and he walked in quickly. He shuttled through the tower familiarly and soon came to a tombstone on the first floor. Looking at the elf photos on it, Zay was silent for a while, cleaned the tombstone as usual, and then placed a few energy cubes on the ground. He stood quietly for half an hour, didn't say anything, and left on his own. All around, there were people like him. After leaving the Pokémon Tower, Zay looked back at the 7-story tower, where Karakura and some ghost elves lived. They are actually the guardians of this tower. According to the memory of the previous life, in the future, Team Rocket will come to poach Karakura to sell their precious skulls, causing the ghost of its mother, Giragara, to linger in the tower and destroy the piece of the Pokémon Tower. This is one of the reasons why he is very wary and disgusted with Team Rocket in this life. Perhaps Sakake's personal charm is really strong, and some people in Team Rocket are indeed fighting for the so-called ideals, but this still cannot change the nature of its dark organization. Many of its behaviors are unacceptable. If there is an opportunity and sufficient strength in the future, he will try his best to avoid such things from happening. Walking quickly outside the town, ZHE was relieved. The atmosphere of Lavender Town is really easy to infect people who come here to pay tribute. Being in this atmosphere for a long time, he feels that it is difficult for him to accept it. Fortunately, he only comes here once a year. Then see you next year, he muttered to himself. Route 8, also known as the Battle Road, is where many trainers gather. Trainers often fight each other here. Of course, there is no lack of prizes. At first, Route 8 was just an ordinary road. I don't know when it became what it is now and became a conventional battle area. In addition, perhaps because it is closer to the most prosperous golden city in Kanto, the Alliance has taken various factors into consideration and built a Pokémon Center and rest area nearby, as well as a special battlefield. Such areas are not uncommon in various regions. Zaya came out of Lavender Town and walked along the main road until he arrived here. Go. Give it the last blow. Get out of the way. Go without regrets. Let the other side see your courage. This is the meaningless shouting of the spectators on the sidelines of the battle. The trainers and Pokémons in the field are concentrating on responding to each other's actions. The surroundings are in full swing, which directly awakens Zaya, who has not yet broken away from the atmosphere of Lavender Town. Pa. Zaya patted his cheek with his hand to cheer himself up. Last year, when Pidgeot was still Pidgeot, he came here after paying tribute to Rattata in Lavender Town and was also infected by the rich battle atmosphere here. But last year he was just a spectator most of the time. This year, he came here intending to have a few proper battles. He randomly found a battlefield, and after watching the last game just end, ZHE hurried to the challenger's seat. There are not many requirements for the challenge here. 1v1. The rules are customary, and the prize is 5,000 Alliance coins per game without additional explanation, and the loser pays to leave. As long as the winner does not leave the field voluntarily, he can stay there forever, which is equivalent to the champion. There is no referee, and they signaled to each other tacitly, and then released the Pokémon at the same time. Go, Mantle Rock. Go, Skank. With the superior attributes, the trainer on the opposite side smiled. It seems that this new face will lose the first game, and the people watching the battle around him made a simple judgment. Grass type versus Rock type. Unless the strength is much stronger, the latter's chance of winning is still very slim. Looking at the young face of this challenger, the champion on the opposite side is also a very strong veteran, and the strength of this young man is weaker, so there is even less hope. It looks like this is another boring battle. Zay remained calm. Grass type. It's a bit troublesome indeed. Gravity. Quicksand hell. It's still his best skill combination. The speed at which Mantle Rock arranged the venue also surprised the audience nearby. Such a skilled skill mastery. They are all trainers, and they are not so bad that they can't see this. The opponent whistled, which was really good. Unfortunately, if the opponent had no sense of smell, the power of Smelly Flower would be even better. Thinking of this, he also responded, Smelly Flower, use Seed Machine Gun. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for the monthly ticket. I want anything! Exclamation mark. Thank you Yingxi for the 100 starting coins. Thank you Mo for the 100 starting coins. Thank you Yadaxianran for the 200 starting coins. Thank you Reader 13408398213753611024 for the 100 starting coins. Thank you FCHD for the 100 starting coins. PS. The reason why Deoxys appeared in the previous chapter is that investigating meteorites in the game can make Deoxys change its form. One of the meteorites is located on Route 3 in the Kanto region, near Mount Tsukumi and Nabi City, and the Diglett Cave connects Nabi City and Vermilion City, which is roughly like this. The first unknown Pokémon is the Fortress Guardian, which is similar to the Triceratops in the original description. The second unknown Pokémon is Tapu Koko, the guardian of the 4 islands of Lala, Melomelo. He is very curious, and is very interested in people and other Pokémon. He will play with them. He looks extremely irritable, but he will quickly forget why he is angry. Chapter 122 Battle Road. I saw the stinky flower spit out green seeds from its purple mouth that seemed to be drooling all the time, attacking the mantle rock. Although I know that this is nectar, not saliva, as the smell of the stinky flower spreads, ZHE's face turned pale. This is simply an attack like a biological weapon. The smell of the stinky flower is as its name suggests. When it encounters danger or a battle, it can release an incredible stench from its stamens and pollen. According to records, the farthest record so far is that the smell emitted by a stinky flower made a person 5 kilometers away faint. You can imagine its power. However, it is said that some people like the smell emitted by the stinky flower. ZHE's face turned pale and black as he stuffed 2 purifiers into his nose. Looking at the comfortable expression of the trainer opposite, after smelling the smell, he knew that this time he met this kind of talent that was picked from thousands of miles away. His luck is really good. The people watching the battle around also blocked their noses. The stinky flower looked at the reactions of the people around it indifferently. It has long been accustomed to it. Its own characteristics determine that not many people will like it. But its trainer likes its smell very much, which is enough to make it extremely happy. No matter how much others hate it, it only needs one person's love. However, Mantle has no sense of smell, so the poison gas attack of Stinky Flower is ineffective against it. Letting the seed machine gun fall to the ground, Mantle felt the slight pain in his body and arranged the venue slowly. The seed machine gun is not a skill that excels in power. For Mantle, who has excellent physical defense, even if it is attribute restraint, the damage caused is not so great. Harden, then rock slide back, use sleep when you are tired. ZHE also commanded slowly. Stinky Flower's strength is actually not high, which comes from its pitiful skill list. Most of the simple and easy to learn skills are powder skills, or transformation skills. Only 3 or 4 grass type skills have attack capabilities, such as Absorb, Seed Machine Gun, and Super Absorb. The Ultimate Absorb, or the grass type big moves such as Solar Beam, Energy Ball, and Seed Bomb, are very difficult to master. Not to mention skills of other attributes. For Skank, it is even more difficult than the grass type ultimate. As for skills, like Charming and Acting Coquettish, which are very meaningful in the battle, in fact, the type of Pokémon must be considered to a certain extent. If you use Acting Coquettishly with an Eevee and a Skank at the same time, the effect will definitely be different. Even if the two may not look much different in the eyes of Pokémon, the body odor of Skank will really make people very distracted. Imagine that your goddess is close to you, and at the same time, she smells like a mixture of old sneakers, garbage, rotten eggs and smoke secreted by skunks. No matter how confused you are, you will wake up. Unless Skank evolves into Bell through the Sunstone, these skills may be truly useful. Skank's trainer was stunned when he saw that Mantle Rock was indifferent, and then he desperately thought about it from his shallow knowledge, and came to a conclusion that Mantle Rock had no sense of smell. Now he was a little confused. After all, Mantle Rock is still relatively rare in Kanto. Common rock type Pokémon in Kanto, such as Geodude and Onix, are semi-organic and still have a sense of smell. When he dealt with these rock type Pokémon before, the attribute restraint plus the characteristics of the Pokémon made it easy to catch them. But without the poison gas, the attack ability of Vileplume has actually decreased by a large part. He also knows the shortcomings of Vileplume, but it is very difficult for Pokémon to comprehend that kind of attribute move by themselves, unless they have high qualifications. or they can ask someone to teach them, but the cost is too high and will delay the progress of cultivation. Moreover, the opponent also used the skill combination of hardening plus rock collapse plus sleeping, which is simply rogue. Under the effect of the hardening skill, the power and damage of the seed machine gun will become extremely weak. Even if it is said that the super absorption consumes part of the physical strength of Mantle Rock, it will soon be recovered by sleeping. Then when it wakes up, the opponent will attack Vileplume with Rock Avalanche. Vileplume does not have double resistance to rock attributes, and the consumed physical strength cannot be restored by super absorption at all. In that case, Skank, use paralysis powder. Looking at the two Pokémon fighting Rock Slide and Seed Machine Gun, Skank's trainer knew that his chances of winning would only get smaller if he dragged on like this, so he decisively ordered Skank to paralyze Gorgon. As for sleep powder, forget it. His long experience in this area told him that basically every Pokémon that can sleep will use sleep talk, and falling asleep will only allow the opponent to output more continuously. As for poison powder, the sleep skill can eliminate bad conditions, so he can only bet that Gorgon can't use sleep in the paralysis state, so that he can win. Seeing the paralysis powder fall on Gorgon, generating arcs of electricity, the two laughed at the same time. Hold on. ZHE has been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. If the Pokémon itself is in an abnormal state of burns, paralysis or poisoning, the power of the skill of Hold On will be directly doubled, and the data is about 140. This power is already higher than most of the ultimate skills of various systems. Of course, the only problem is that the hit rate of skills used by Pokémon in abnormal states is questionable, especially for states like paralysis. Whether it can be used is a question. However, this time, Mantle Rock used hard support very smoothly, and the whole Pokémon rushed towards Skank with white light. The opponent's face was even more happy. Skank, use Grass Knot. How could he forget this magical skill to deal with heavy Pokémon? The heavier the weight, the greater the damage, but Mantle Rock just now did not move in the same place, and Grass Knot could not trip it at all. Now that it is moving, it is the best time. Skank, use Grass Knot quickly. But Skank did not move in the same place, and its trainer shouted anxiously. Bang! Mantle Rock used hard support to hit Skank's body. Skank fell to the ground, his eyes spinning, and he lost his ability to fight. Skank's trainer shook his head helplessly and took out 5,000 Alliance coins and gave them to Tetsuya. He also reacted. This is a shrinking state, a negative state caused by rockfall, which will make Pokémon unable to move. No wonder the opponent didn't use the more powerful power gem. It turned out that he was waiting for him here. It was also his fault that he didn't find out that something was wrong with Skank in advance, and his skills were not as good as others. When Tetsuya restored the state and physical strength of the Mantle Rock, the next challenger also stood on the opposite command platform. After looking at each other, the other party released his Pokémon, Go, Longtail. As time passed, the battle continued. More and more spectators gathered at the battle site where Tetsuya was, and constant communication came from the crowd. So strong, this trainer and Mantle Rock have won 8 consecutive games. Yes, and there were also water and grass Pokémon in the middle. It's really too strong. That Mantle Rock's control of sand and stone is completely different from that of ordinary Pokémon. And the trainer's command ideas are so clear. You see, the opponent's combo just now was cracked by him again. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for the monthly ticket. I want everything! Exclamation mark. Thanks to the 72nd King for the reward of 100 starting coins. Thanks to the Boring Peak for the reward of 100 starting coins. Thanks to BZHI's love for awarding the character Sirona with 100 starting coins. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123 You Undergroup. Thank you for your advice. ZHE also smiled and shook hands with the opponent in front of him. The opponent smiled bitterly, handed 5,000 Alliance coins to ZHE and left. Estimating the physical strength of Mantle Rock, 8 consecutive battles are already the limit. Even if there is a little rest and recovery in the middle, it is difficult for Mantle Rock to play the next game. As for Pidgeot and Blaziken, it is not meaningful for them to fight here. The strength of most Pokémon here is still concentrated in the ordinary or just entering the elite level. It is no exaggeration to say that Blaziken and Pidgeot came here to bully them. He was mainly to increase Mantle Rock's combat experience. Now it seems that the effect is still good. By the way, he also earned a little meal money. No matter how small the mosquito meat is, it is still meat. ZHE also took Mantle Rock back into the Pokeball, signaled to the audience around him that he voluntarily gave up the battle and left directly. The audience felt quite sorry that they could not continue to see this boy's wonderful battle. However, his Pokémon had indeed been greatly depleted, and they did not think that this young boy had a second, stronger Pokémon. After all, he was old. As the other two trainers continued to fight, the audience left in groups of 3 or 2, or stayed to watch the battle, cheering from time to time. Tetsuya came to the Pokémon Center next to him, handed the Mantle Rock to Miss Joy for recovery, and then prepared to go to the restaurant to solve the problem of lunch. After walking all the way from Lavender Town, plus the time of the battle, it was already noon. "Excuse me, are you trainer Tetsuya Tamaki?" Just as Tetsuya was on his way to the restaurant, a sweaty man in a suit with a briefcase stopped him. "Ah, I am. Excuse me, who are you?" Tetsuya looked at the man in the suit in confusion. No one has said that they want to see him recently. "I'm Toshiyuki Kurahashi of the Ender Group," the man Toshiyu said, while taking out a business card from his bag and handing it to Tetsuya with both hands. "I believe you must have heard of our group. I wonder if you can spare a few minutes of your time to give me a chance to explain your intentions." Zay narrowed his eyes, confirmed the other party's identity, and nodded slightly to indicate that it was okay. The two walked to the rest area on the side and began to communicate. The Yuanda Group is a super large commercial giant company. Its main business is low-end elf medicines, elf balls, elf food, as well as human clothing, food, and cars. Of course, it is said to be low-end, that is compared with the Silph Company and the Devon Manufacturing Company. In fact, most people's first choice for shopping is still the Yuanda Group. Because although the product quality and function of the Silph Company and the Devon Manufacturing Company are very good, the only fatal problem is that they are expensive, very expensive. If it weren't for considering giving his elves the best cultivation, Zaya would not have chosen these two companies. The pricing of the Yuanda Group seems to be more affordable. Of course, it is inevitable that the technical content is low. Zaya is now curious about why the other party came to him, when he obviously has no connection with the Yuanda Group. As for how they found him, this is not very strange. After all, the Ender Group not only maintains a good relationship with all the official gyms in Kanto, but also has a partner with the Oak Research Institute, not to mention the relationship with the Joai family at the Pokémon Center. It is very easy for any of these 3 channels to find me. It would be strange if such a large company couldn't find someone. Kurahashi Shunsuke, who was sweating profusely, took a big sip of water. "I wonder what trainer Tetsuya thinks. If there is no problem, we will send the relevant agreement to the Nabi Gym, and the Nabi Gym will confirm it as an intermediary." Tetsuya pondered for a moment and nodded. "Okay, no problem, I agree." Kurahashi Shunsuke was overjoyed. "Thank you for your support for our company. I won't bother you anymore." The two said goodbye, and Kurahashi Shunsuke hurriedly walked outside to do his next job. Tetsuya walked towards the restaurant, ordering food and eating, while thinking about what Kurahashi Shunsuke had just said. Battle Zone. I seem to have heard of this in my previous life. Another type of gym. The founder seems to be a man wearing sunglasses. This is right. The boss of the Yodo Group, Yodo Akida, is a fat man who likes to wear sunglasses. Yes, Kurahashi Shunsuke just came to discuss the issue of the Battle Zone with Tetsuya. Of course, he did not invite Tetsuya to become the battle leader of the Battle Zone he mentioned. This kind of status similar to the gym leader is far from enough for him. Kurahashi Shunsuke mainly came to invite Tetsuya to challenge the future Battle Zone, and by the way, warm up the popularity of the Battle Zone in advance. As for the time limit, he said that the group has not yet given a clear time point. The battle zone is still under construction, and the candidates for several battle leaders have not been determined. To put it simply, there is no location yet, the time is unknown, and the requirements are unknown. If it were not for the strength and reputation of the Yodo group and the 2 million appearance fee, Tetsuya would have wanted to leave directly at that time, thinking that this was a prank. Are you kidding me? A product without any quality assurances asking him to promise to challenge you? But I have to say that such a large group is rich. From the information revealed by Kurahashi Shunsuke, they have already invited many people in advance. Even if Zei's 2 million is an average level, inviting 100 people is 200 million alliance coins. That's 200 million, not 2 yuan. And no matter how you think about it, it's impossible to invite only 100 people. It's great to be rich, he sighed. His fingers were sending messages on his watch. He asked several friends he knew before about the battle frontier. Everyone replied that they had also received an invitation. Zei's mouth corners slightly raised. Very good, his 2 million is the highest price among these guys. Boy, he likes to compete in such an inexplicable place. Several friends also replied that they would beat Zei up the next time they meet. Next life. This was Zei's unified reply to them, and in return they were all middle fingers. After dinner, Zei came to the front desk of the Pokémon Center to retrieve the restored Mantle Rock. The morning plan ended here, and he had to go to Rainbow City in the afternoon. When he arrived at an open field, ZHE also released Pidgeot. His excellent physique inevitably attracted the attention of the people around him. He walked on the back of Pidgeot with a calm expression, patted it and signaled that it was time to set off. Beep Pidgeot chirped and spread its wings to fly high into the sky. Only the envious eyes of the people below and the admiration of the girls for his chic figure were left. At this time, ZHE was in midair, squatting down with a pale face, trembling on the back of Pidgeot. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote for me. I ask for everything. Thank Xiang for the 100 starting coins rewarded. Thank Xianshan for the 100 starting coins rewarded every day. Thank GHSLSP for the 100 starting coins rewarded. Chapter 124 Perfume Shop. ZHE also swore that he would never do it again next time. It was simply killing him. When Pidgeot landed near Rainbow City, he walked down and took a full 10 minutes to calm down his rapidly beating heart. It was handsome, but the sequel were a bit serious. After putting Pidgeot into the Pokeball, ZHE also went to the Poke Center in Rainbow City as usual. He always wanted to complain, can't they open an online reservation channel? Every time you challenge a gym, you have to go to the local Poke Center to make an appointment, including the Bounty Hunter Center or other places. They are all connected to the internet, but they can't be operated online. This is very inconvenient. After completing a series of actions such as making an appointment and booking a room, ZHE also thought so while walking on the road. Divination. Is there any trainer who needs divination? A woman dressed as a Japanese fortune teller was shouting on the side of the road with a flag, and next to her was a yellow Pokémon that looked like a fox and seemed to be half asleep. Most of the natives seemed to have gotten used to her existence and didn't even look at her. A few outsiders like Zei looked at her curiously. The fortune teller's voice became louder. Divining the personality of the elf symbolizes your fortune today. It only takes 1000 alliance coins once. Cassie will give you the best answer. Don't say it. There are really a few people who are interested and come up to start fortune telling. Zei watched with interest for a while and then left. Divining personality. Is it synchronized according to Cassie's characteristics? It's really interesting. According to research, the synchronization characteristic can transmit its own negative states to the opponent in battle. For elves like Cassie, it usually manifests as a synchronized personality. Of course, another common characteristic of Cassie, mental power, is more suitable for cultivation and battle, which means that their superpowers will be more powerful. However, psychic elves are rare, not to mention Cassie. Many people don't know that the synchronization characteristic can synchronize personality. Elves like Cassie sleep 18 hours a day, which is because they are too tired to use their superpowers. The unique racial talent allows most Cassis to master teleportation, which is difficult for many psychic elves to learn. For Cassie, it can repeat teleportation at will, and it looks like it is splitting. Even when it is asleep, it will teleport and escape immediately when it senses danger, and it will not stay in each place for more than an hour. This has led to few people being able to catch Cassie. Speaking of which, its final evolution form, Alakazam, is also one of the elves in Tetsua's dream. It is extremely powerful, and is rumored to have an IQ of 5,000. But this kind of thing can be thought about. Walking in Rainbow City, this city is more prosperous than the previous ones he has been to. Buildings stand on the side of the street, people come and go at the door, and several characteristic streets in the distance are also crowded with people. There are Beauty Street, Perfume Street and other famous streets in Rainbow City. Tetsua's destination this time is Perfume Street. A man wearing a purple evening dress and a red bow tie, who is very fashionable, is performing a magic show at the entrance. He snapped his fingers, and the bouquet of roses in his hand turned into a Suicune doll. Wow. The children around were all excited and shouted, and many young girls also cast their eyes on this handsome man. The man became more excited and waved his hand. Shuttlecock cotton, use cotton spores. The blue round elves flying around him cried softly, and sprinkled white cotton from the 3 cotton balls around their bodies, and built the shape of Suicune in the air. The leaves on the top of the head and the round little feet were still shaking. Wow, so cute. The people around cheered again. Shuttlecock Cotton is indeed a very lovable elf. It can even travel around the world when it floats in the wind. ZHE also applauded standing aside. It is a very powerful skill that ordinary Pokémon coordinators can't do. Sure enough, there are hidden dragons and crouching tigers in every place. Turning to leave, he heard the words of the man behind him. Miss, this is my autographed photo. Please be sure to accept it. In addition to being a little narcissistic, walking to the perfume street, looking at the sign, ZHE also pushed open the door of a perfume store. Welcome, this is the Rainbow Perfume Shop. The waiter at the side immediately came up to greet Tetsuya. The Rainbow Perfume Shop, as the name suggests, is the business of the Rainbow Gym. The Rainbow Gym is a gym dominated by female trainers, and its main attribute is grass type, and almost all of them are beautiful women. This has also attracted many trainers to stay near the Rainbow Gym every day to appreciate art, especially when the temperature is high. There are people squatting in every bush on the roadside. Under the leadership of the gym leader Lygia, the main industry of the Rainbow Gym is concentrated in 2 aspects: the teaching of art such as flower arrangement and the production and sale of perfume. Many tasks for the purchase of perfume raw materials in the Bounty Hunter Guild, such as the flower saliva of the stinky flower, are issued by the Rainbow Gym for a long time. After all, this thing is in short supply. I want to see the classification of intimate perfumes. Tetsuya said politely to the waiter. Okay, please follow me. The waiter took Tetsuya to the store. In addition to being more fragrant and more comfortable, the perfumes produced by the Rainbow Perfume Shop also have special classifications. One of them is the intimate perfume that Tetsuya just mentioned. As the name suggests, spraying this perfume on your Pokémon will make them closer. This is their specialty, which cannot be bought in other places. It is a rare occasion to come here, so you must buy some to stock up. I wonder what Pokémon you want to use it on? Asked the waiter. Pidgeot, Nat and Blaziken. If possible, can you recommend me a common perfume for grass type Pokémon? Oh, and Garchomp and Lucario. Zaya thought about it and answered. Okay, for Pidgeot, we recommend this wine fruit fragrance. The overall smell is softer, which is a very good choice for Pidgeot. Nat is relatively rare. Our store manager recommends the sea salt fragrance for it. This fragrance can be better experienced by most rock type Pokémon. The clerk introduced it endlessly. In the Rainbow Perfume Store, what you must not do is to question the perfume, otherwise you are likely to be directly kicked out. For details, you can refer to the fate of Zyossi in the animation. Of course he would not be stupid and smelled all the perfumes one by one. Very refreshing. I also want to see some women's perfumes. Do you have any recommendations? 2 hours later, Zay walked out of the perfume store with a bunch of bags in his hands, but the price was that the amount on his card was reduced a lot. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote. I want anything! Exclamation mark. Thanks to Baymok for the 500 starting coins. Thanks to Zuanjingnichan for the 100 starting coins. Thanks to Baiezu for the 100 starting coins. Thanks to Zion for the 100 starting coins. PS. If you know, please tell me where these characters appear. Chapter 125. Battle at the Rainbow Gym. With a grin, ZHE also felt quite distressed. With the attentive introduction of the store clerk, he bought a variety of products. In addition to the intimate perfume, there are also rock incense and flower incense that can improve the elves' control over energy, corresponding to the rock type and grass type respectively. It was regrettable to tell that there is no formula to make the incense corresponding to the fire type and the flying type. The other cleansing incense is used when the elves are resting, which can make them recover their energy faster and get a better rest. By the way, I bought a bottle of spice combination, a special food seasoning. According to the store clerk, it is made of more than 50 kinds of spices. It is very spicy. ZHE also smelled the smell and drooled. It is a very strange thing to have seasonings in a perfume store, not to mention that the sales of this seasoning are unusually good. According to ZHE's observation, almost everyone who enters the store has a bottle of this seasoning. It can only be said that the power of food is infinite. He mainly bought it for the flame chicken. The fire type elves like to eat this kind of spicy food. Occasionally, he adjusts the taste for the little guy, and it is definitely not because he wants to eat it himself. Serious face. Just these simple things cost him nearly 2 million yuan. Of course, the perfume and aromatherapy were the amount for the past 6 months. The price is okay. It is definitely conscientious enough among monopoly products. ZHE also commented. After all, their effect can only barely be icing on the cake, and no more extravagant expectations can be made. But as long as it is useful, no trainer will be stingy with these expenses. After returning to the Pokémon Center and putting away the large and small bags in his hands, ZHE came to the Rainbow Gym. The reservation information came when he was just shopping. I can only sigh that their administrative efficiency is really high. The appearance of the Rainbow Gym looks like an enlarged version of the King of Flowers. Stinky Flower evolved from Leafstone. After walking in, you can see flowers everywhere. Looking up, there are transparent glass, and the sunlight penetrates into the interior of the building. Isn't this a huge indoor greenhouse garden? It really has the style of the grass type. This time, he did not enter the waiting room, but was led directly to the battlefield. Hello, Trainer Tetsuya Tamaki. I'm your opponent in this gym battle, Ayaka. A girl in a miniskirt opposite had a cold face, but spoke in a very gentle tone. This. Tetsuya blinked his eyes, so stiff and dedicated. But this is what a normal gym staff should look like. Who did he meet in the gym battle before? Either the gym leader, the gym boss, or the gym leader, which made it look easy. Real gym staff fight more than 10 games a day, every day. Who can stand it? The main thing is that they often lose, and even the most patient people can hardly keep the mentality. For example, you may be able to play a game for 7 or 8 hours, but you have been losing all the time, and have never seen a victory. You can't face this reality every day, at least you will break the keyboard or something. The most important thing is that it is not because you are bad, but because you are restricted from playing, which is even more unacceptable. The rules of this battle are 2v2. The challenger starts last. The specific rules are as follows. ZHE was very bored listening to the referee's meaningless chatter. Looking at the girl opposite, he couldn't help but admire her. It was a skill to listen to the referee's nagging for more than 10 times a day. He's looking at me. That handsome guy is looking at me. Ayaka in a miniskirt shouted in her heart. She just subconsciously greeted the other party, and she regretted it when she saw the other party's face. She should have been more polite. This way, she could ask for the contact information and brag to her sisters when she went back. How could she ask for the contact information when she had a stern face just now? She wailed in her heart. The Rainbow Gym is full of women, and the topics they talk about when they get along are far more wanton and explosive than outsiders imagine. If it weren't for their Gymona Ligia wearing a kimono every day and taking the appearance of a lady from a noble family as their role model, they might have been more joyful. Of course, Tetsuya didn't know what the opponent was thinking under his cold face. He was still lamenting why the referee hadn't finished reading the rules yet. The above are the rules of this match. Now, please ask Aika from the gym to send out the elves. Finally, the referee finished. Show your charm, Vine Monster. Aika immediately took advantage of the situation to change her expression and released the elves with a sweet smile. Tetsuya was even more amazed. The love of the Rainbow Gym staff for elves was really visible to the naked eye. His eyes were fixed, but the winner would only be me and my elves. Go, Blaziken, let the opponent see your power. With a smile on his face, he threw the luxury ball and shouted GG loudly. Oh, no, he called out Blaziken loudly. Oh my. After Blaziken appeared, he shouted to encourage himself, and his tightly closed eyes suddenly opened, exuding an amazing momentum. Tetsuya felt that he was already ignited. He was not so excited when he watched Boruto in his previous life. Blaziken looked at the opponent on the opposite side. This is a ball of wool. The image of its childhood toy immediately appeared in its mind. The vine monster was covered with thick blowvines, and its face was also covered by the vines, so only its eyes could be seen. Its body was round, with a pair of red feet that looked like they were wearing boots, but its arms could not be seen. The blue vines kept moving around on its body like little snakes. Flame Chicken shook its head and quickly got rid of its associations. It would have nightmares if it went home tonight with the ball of yarn in its arms. Tetsuya shouted passionately, Flame Chicken, use Jet Flame. Go. Flame Chicken gathered its spirit and spit out a column of fire from its mouth. Ayaka rolled her eyes. Fire types are natural enemies of grass types, and the level of this Flame Chicken registered for the battle is also amazingly high. It seems that they will lose again. She sighed in her heart, Vine Monster, you Spine Titan. But they can't just give the badge to the opponent so easily. After being hit by Flame Chicken's Jet Flame, the Vine Monster screamed in pain, but still insisted on deriving 2 vines from its body. The vines were close to the ground, quickly wrapped around the legs of the Flame Chicken and controlled it. The continuous tightening force also caused the Flame Chicken to suffer a little damage. Flame Kick, they hurriedly commanded, otherwise it would be more or less troublesome if powder skills or toxins came along the vines. A fire immediately ignited on the legs of the Flame Chicken, and the color of the vines instantly turned black. With a little force, the vines turned into a pile of charcoal powder. Pushing the ground with 1 foot, before the Vine Monster could react, the Flame Chicken came in front of it. Bia. Bang. 2 consecutive flaming whip kicks hit the body of the Vine Monster. Please invest, collect, recommend, and vote. I want anything. PS. My keyboard is broken. I will change it, and it may be late in the afternoon. Speaking of banning, you can look at the featured posts in the book friend circle. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.